Chapter 290. It's fine if you don't dare. After all, I'm not the one being bullied. I'm also not the one participating in the clan meeting. Lord Alcohol said indifferently. Lin Xian's expression kept changing. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "You're ruthless. I'll attract lightning." Inside the mysterious small sword, Lord Alcohol leaned against a huge tree and muttered, "Little guy, if you can't even withstand a lightning strike, I can't give you this sword." Lin Xian learned the lightning-attracting formation very quickly after Lord Alcohol imparted it to him. Under Xiao Jin's lead, Lin Xian swam toward the riverbank. He chose a relatively remote place to go ashore, avoiding the detection of the Star Peak Pavilion. As soon as he got ashore, Lin Xian's black cloak fluttered. He used the dragon counterstep and turned into a black light, rushing into the distance. After entering the mountains, he found the tallest mountain and began to set up a lightning-attracting formation. Half a day later, Lin Xian left the mountain. Star Peak Pavilion. I'm coming. A cold smile appeared on his face as he quickly rushed into the forest. By the profounding river, a few martial artists from the Star Peak Pavilion were patrolling out of boredom. Elder Lu is really something. It's been more than half a month, and he still wants us to search. I guess there's no corpse left. That's right. Can he still survive after falling into the profounding river? A few people whispered in dissatisfaction. The profounding river was unusually cold. Even half-step harmonious spirit experts like them couldn't withstand it. Let's go back, a martial artist said. Swoosh. At this moment, a sword light flashed behind him. The power of wind and lightning surged. The surrounding spiritual chi fluctuated, and a thick sword chi slashed down. Puff. A martial artist wasn't paying attention and was cut in half by the sword chi. Who is it? The remaining disciples were shocked. The person who will kill you. Lin Xian's body flashed as he mercilessly stabbed out with his sword. The sword light filled the sky like cold icicles. The surging sword intent was incomparably terrifying. It's Lin Xian. Quickly report to the elders. Someone shouted. They never dreamed that someone could come back alive from the profounding river. Puff, puff, puff. Several martial artists were sent flying. Their eyes were filled with fear. This attack power was too terrifying. They couldn't block it at all. How is this possible? He is the same as us, a half-step harmonious spirit cultivator. Impossible. I don't believe it. However, no matter how they resisted, they were unable to block Lin Xian's sword chi. Puff. Another head flew up, and blood dyed the ground red. Run. The remaining three ran in three different directions at lightning speed. However, Lin Xian was even faster. His footsteps shook as he arrived behind one of them. He raised his autumn scar sword up high. The sword light rippled as if it was tearing apart the clouds. Chopping cloud, this sword had mobilized the surrounding spirit chi, making it even more powerful than before. The cultivator resisted with all his strength, putting up a solid defense. In front of him, a small shield with star patterns bloomed with light. However, none of this could stop the cloud-slashing sword chi. Everything was like cutting tofu. That martial artist, along with the small shield in front of him, was split into two halves. The other martial artist was cut in half by the snow-white monkey's tough spider silk. The last martial artist quickly fled. It wasn't that Lin Xian didn't have the ability to kill him, but he needed him to go back and report. The two elders that Lin Xian hated the most were the two elders, and they were the ones that he wanted to deal with. The last martial artist fled to the Star Peak Pavilion's stronghold with a terrified expression. He screamed crazily, "Guards, he's back." "Who's back?" A disciple said impatiently. "Devil, devil." The disciple fell to the ground with blood all over his body. "What happened to you?" This movement attracted the attention of the others. Lin Xian is not dead. He's back for revenge." After saying that, the martial artist fainted. Boom, boom. Elder Lu and Elder Wang soared into the sky. Their terrifying chi covered the entire area. After a while, Elder Lu said excitedly, "Little bastard, you're still alive." Swoosh. Two rays of light flashed past. Elder Lu and Elder Wang disappeared. In the forest, Lin Xian felt two terrifying chi rushing towards him. He didn't hesitate and ran towards the highest peak. You can't escape this time. A terrifying howl came from behind. The trees around him exploded. Star fist. A fist that was almost 100 meters long formed in the sky. With a whistling sound, it smashed forward. If it was in the past, Lin Xian wouldn't be able to dodge it. But now that he had advanced to half-step harmonious spirit realm, his strength had increased by a lot. It was easy for him to dodge it. Lin Xian's black cloak fluttered. His speed increased once again. Not good. This brat seems to have broken through. Elder Wang frowned. He's just a half-step harmonious spirit realm cultivator. Do you think he can deal with us? Elder Lu said with disdain. The two of them quickly chased after him. Elder Wang was doubtful again. That brat seems to be luring us. Could it be an ambush? Everything is futile in front of absolute strength. Elder Lu didn't care. He didn't put Lin Xian in his eyes at all. As long as Lin Xian didn't jump into the profounding river, he wouldn't have a trace of worry. The three of them arrived at the peak one after another. At this time, the clouds in the sky began to roll. Many dark clouds began to gather. It was normal for the weather to change in the forest. Elder Lu and Elder Lu didn't care about it. The environment here is not bad. Seems like you know how to choose a grave for yourself. Elder Lu sneered. It's good that you like it. But this is not my grave, it's yours. Lin Xian revealed his neat teeth. Brat, don't think that you're so great just because you're a half-step harmonious spirit realm cultivator. In our eyes, you're nothing. Stop bragging. Lin Xian sneered. You're already so old, but you're still a harmonious spirit realm cultivator. If I were you, I would have killed myself already. This young master is 17 years old this year. I'm already a half-step harmonious spirit realm cultivator. May I ask what your cultivation level was when you were 17? Lin Xian said with disdain. I think you're nothing. Little bastard, you're courting death. Elder Lu was so angry that his whole body trembled. Old Lu, don't talk nonsense with him. Quickly take him down. Elder Wang glanced at the dark clouds in the sky. He was a little worried. Don't worry. I'll torture him to death. Elder Lu walked over step by step. Lin Xian secretly observed the dark clouds in the sky. He originally wanted to think of a way to stall for time, but he didn't expect that the other party had no intention of making a move. This made him secretly happy. Two old things. I'll kill you later. Elder Lu stretched out his palm. There are too many geniuses in this world, but most of them died young. You're no exception. I'll let you know that before you grow up, you don't have the right to shout. Starfinger Elder Lu pointed his finger at Lin Xian's calf. A terrifying aura fluctuated like a ferocious beast. I'll break your leg. Let's see if you can still run. Swoosh. Lin Xian's footsteps swayed. His body left an afterimage on the spot. Chi. A bottomless black hole appeared on the ground. The cut was even. The layer of soil that was hit by the sword had been forcefully dug out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Elder Lu quickly pointed his star finger. He was like a cat playing with a mouse. Seeing Lin Xian anxiously dodging, he looked up to the sky and laughed. Elder Wang, come and try. It's very fun. All right, it's been a long time since I tortured someone. Elder Wang laughed sinisterly. Wait until I catch him. I'll use my secret technique and make him beg on the ground like a dog. The two of them forced Lin Xian to the edge of the cliff with cold smiles on their faces. This time, you won't jump off the cliff, right? Ha 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 ha. The two of them laughed crazily. Rumble. Dark clouds suddenly covered the sky. Silver lightning flashed in the clouds. Lin Xian's frightened expression disappeared. It was replaced by a cold smile. Very fun, right? I'll play with you until you're satisfied. Lightning strike. A cold voice spread in all directions. Chapter 291. Rumble. Thunder rumbled in the sky, accompanied by a huge flash of lightning. The originally bright sky was covered by a black cloth. It was dark and oppressive. The fear on Lin Xian's face disappeared. He looked coldly at the two people in front of him with lightning flashing in his eyes. You two old dogs, I'll play with you today. Lightning strike. Elder Lu and Elder Wang were stunned and looked at the sky in panic. Dark clouds covered the sky and silver lightning flashed. but there was no sign of it falling. "Kid, who do you think you are, the god of lightning? How dare you scare me? I'll torture you for 4 more hours today." The two sneered and didn't take it to heart. They knew that there were many thunderstorms in this area. In their eyes, the dark clouds above them were just normal thunderstorms. It was normal. Their huge palms moved and grabbed at Lin Xian. Both of them still had a smug look on their faces. At this moment, a blue lightning arc fell like the Milky Way. It pierced through the sky and struck the mountain where Lin Xian was. Rumble. The terrifying sound of thunder spread in all directions. All the demonic beasts within 1,000 miles fell to the ground and trembled nonstop. The disciples of the Star Peak Pavilion also looked at the lightning in the sky in horror. Many of them were so scared that they wet their pants. "Ah!" 2 miserable cries cut through the sky. They were like roosters that had their feathers plucked. It was extremely miserable. Lin Xian circulated the copper thunder pattern with all his might and dodged quickly. His eyes were full of smiles. These 2 old fellows were standing on the eye of the array and attracted the first bolt of lightning. That feeling was definitely going to be tough for them. "Guys, how does it feel to be struck by lightning?" Lin Xian asked with a smile. "Little bastard, I'm going to kill you." Elder Lu opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of black smoke. Elder Wang wasn't any better. His hair was standing up from the lightning, and his body was charred black. He was in a sorry state. "You want to kill me? Have a good taste of being struck by lightning." Lin Xian completely activated the array and attracted the lightning from the sky. The entire mountain peak turned into a sea of lightning. Elder Lu and Elder Wang wanted to escape immediately, but they realized that the surroundings were sealed by an array formation. Every time they tried to attack the array formation, the heavenly lightning above their heads would strike them, causing them to scream and flee in all directions. "Brat, you actually plotted against us. I'm going to kill you with my own hands." Elder Lu pounced forward crazily. In the end, Lin Xian's lightning became even more intense, causing Elder Lu to retreat while screaming in pain. "Lin Xian, you've trapped us, but you can't escape either. Why don't we reconcile?" "That's right, you're an exceptional genius. There's no need for you to die here. It's not worth it." Elder Wang also echoed. He was really scared. If he was struck to death here, that would be a great loss. "Haha, if you're afraid, then beg me." Lin Xian's body was surrounded by lightning, and his skin was cracked. It was a tragic sight, but he was laughing very happily. He was different from Elder Lu and Elder Lu. The 2 of them didn't know how to dodge and could only take it head-on. But he was different. He had the technique taught to him by Lord Alcohol. It wasn't to blindly resist the lightning, but to use it to temper his body and strengthen the copper lightning marks. Even so, his body was still rotten to the point where it couldn't get any worse. Fortunately, he had the longevity art and the life essence of the great earth spirit liquid, which could quickly heal his body. That was why he dared to try it. In the sea of lightning, Elder Lu and Elder Wang gnashed their teeth in hatred. In the end, they still opened their mouths to beg for mercy. Lin Xian laughed loudly. He endured the pain in his body and said, "You 2 old dogs won't kneel down later, right? Brat, you're just a half-step harmonious spirit. You'll definitely die before us. Once you die, the heavenly lightning will be gone." Elder Wang said hatefully. He didn't want to kneel down to a brat. "Then you 2 can obediently enjoy the heavenly lightning. Wait until this young master breaks through, then I'll take your lives." After saying that, Lin Xian ignored the 2 of them and began to absorb the lightning with all his might. Asterisk boom. Asterisk a lightning bolt as thick as a water bucket hit his body. It was like a huge mountain had hit his body. He couldn't help but spit out blood, and his bones creaked. Asterisk buzz. Asterisk buzz. The copper lightning mark flickered, forming a mysterious electric pattern that quickly absorbed the lightning into his body. The violent lightning entered his body and exploded with a terrifying destructive force. Lin Xian's face contorted. He looked up to the sky and roared. His black hair danced wildly behind him, and his body emitted a terrifying aura. Crack, crack. The clothes on his body were torn apart, revealing his robust body. He had already taken off his armor, and was now facing the lightning bare-chested. Quickly circulating the copper lightning mark, Lin Xian's body was boiling hot, as if his body was about to explode. Quickly circulate, according to the silver lightning mark's incantation. Change the copper mark on your body to silver and you'll succeed, Lord Alcohol reminded. Hearing that, Lin Xian forced himself to focus and began to circulate according to the silver lightning mark's incantation. On the surface of his body, the copper lightning mark gradually disappeared, and a flickering silver lightning mark gradually formed. While Lin Xian was refining his body with lightning, Elder Lu and Elder Wang were about to go crazy. Terrifying wounds appeared on their bodies, and their expressions were dispirited. They regretted teasing Lin Xian. Why didn't they capture him directly? Perhaps that way, they wouldn't have to suffer the pain of being struck by lightning. They might even have found out the whereabouts of the Earth-tier martial arts. Elder Lu, I told you long ago to be careful of traps, but you just wouldn't listen. Now look at it. I'm about to be cooked. Elder Wang complained. His treasures had all been destroyed, and he was in a very bad mood. You're still talking? Which bastard said that he would torture him to death? Elder Lu was indignant as he threw away the deformed shield in his hand. You! How dare you scold me? I'll fight it out with you. Elder Wang was anxious. Let's fight. I'm not afraid. Elder Lu's face was ferocious. While the two of them were arguing, Lin Xian was undergoing a shocking transformation not far away. Blue lightning struck, shattering the surrounding rocks. Lin Xian stood in the midst of it. The lightning mark on his body flickered as he rapidly absorbed the energy. He had already consumed a drop of earth spirit liquid and was now consuming the second drop. However, the results were obvious. The lightning mark on his body continued to merge with the lightning in the sky, and a surge of energy gradually rose. Even the violent lightning in his body was suppressed. Under the incantation of the silver lightning body, his body began to be repaired. Many of the lightning marks on his body had turned silver, as if a silver armor was draped over his body. Lin Xian was pleasantly surprised. He exerted even more effort to activate the silver lightning body. Gradually, a silver halo formed on his body, wrapping him up like a cocoon. This transformation finally attracted the attention of Elder Lu and Elder Lu. This guy is transforming. What a strong chi. What kind of body refining technique is this? Why does it need to be tempered by lightning? The two of them were shocked. Even they didn't dare to face the lightning directly. However, Lin Xian, a half-step harmonious spirit brat, was able to absorb so much lightning. This made their eyelids twitch. This brat has too many secrets. Just this body refining technique alone is enough to make a group of harmonious spirit realm experts go crazy. We can't let him succeed. We have to interrupt him. Elder Lu said fiercely. Yes, capture him and ask for the method of the body refining technique. We have to dig out all the secrets from him. Elder Wang's eyes were red with excitement. Chapter 292. The two of them walked towards Lin Xian. Every step was extremely difficult. Rumble. The closer they got to Lin Xian, the more powerful the lightning became. The terrifying lightning seemed to be able to shatter everything. Elder Lu held up a small blue umbrella. There were stars drawn on it, forming a curtain of stars above his head to block the lightning attack. Elder Wang put on a battle armor that shone with a green light, forming a terrifying defensive barrier. The two of them took out their respective treasures and tried their best to walk towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian was currently wrapped in a huge silver cocoon. He didn't know what was happening outside, but that didn't mean he couldn't fight back. Besides, there was still Lord Alcohol. Although Lord Alcohol couldn't attack directly, he could still control the array formation. Under his control, the lightning array formation changed rapidly. His proficiency was 100 times higher than Lin Xian's. Soon, dark clouds rolled in the sky. The lightning in the sky turned into lightning snakes that rushed towards Elder Lu and Elder Wang. The ground below had completely turned into a sea of lightning. Elder Lu and Elder Wang struggled to resist and walked very slowly. This process lasted for a long time. When the two of them reached Lin Xian's side, their footsteps were unsteady. The small umbrella with stars drawn on it and the green battle armor were also dim. They had suffered heavy injuries. However, their eyes were glowing. They were like hungry wolves that had seen a beauty. They were abnormally excited. As long as they caught Lin Xian, all their losses could be made up for. When they thought of the scene when they asked about Earth-tier martial arts and supreme-grade body tempering techniques, the two of them couldn't help but laugh foolishly. Elder Lu and Elder Wang slowly stretched out their palms and grabbed towards Lin Xian. Seeing that the two of them were about to touch the silver cocoon, they seemed to have sensed Lin Xian's heartbeat. At that moment, the silver cocoon suddenly emitted cracking sounds. A huge crack split open from the middle, and countless silver lightning bolts shot out from within. Not good. Elder Lu and Elder Wang's expressions changed drastically as they attacked decisively. A huge star palm with a terrifying aura grabbed towards the cocoon. Elder Wang also threw out a fist that was suffused with light. Boom. Whoosh. Just as the two of them attacked, a pair of palms glowing with silver light reached out from inside and blocked their attacks. Silver electric arcs danced, containing the terrifying power of thunder and lightning. Elder Lu and Elder Lu felt as if their arms were grabbed by an iron clamp, extremely firm. Let go. The two of them were enraged, and their auras erupted. A gale swept across, and the spiritual energy in the sky gathered, forming a huge sword aura that slashed towards Lin Xian. Scram! His shout was like a thunderclap, spreading in all directions. This voice turned the surrounding rocks into powder and charged toward Elder Lu and Elder Lu with a soul attack. Wang. Bang. Elder Lu and Elder Wang's expressions changed slightly as they reacted angrily. The air exploded from the pressure, and the silver cocoon of light was quickly blown away, revealing Lin Xian's body. At this moment, a white light flashed and snatched the light cocoon away. It was the snow-white monkey. It flashed again and arrived on Lin Xian's shoulder. It opened its small mouth and swallowed the entire silver lightning cocoon before entering the storage ring. Lin Xian's body was covered with silver lightning marks. It was incomparably profound, like a silver battle armor that wrapped around him. Tiny silver electric arcs danced on his body, containing a suffocating power. Elder Lu and Elder Wang's attacks landed on his body, producing a metallic sound. Although Lin Xian was in pain, he did not fall down like the other half-step harmonious spirit experts. There was not even a trace of a wound. What? Impossible! The two elders' pupils shrank. For hours ago, Lin Xian did not dare to receive their attacks. Now, after receiving two of their palms, it was as if nothing had happened. What kind of body-refining technique is this? It's so terrifying. At this moment, Elder Lu and Elder Wang's hearts were filled with panic. The seed of fear was deeply rooted in their hearts. If others knew about this, they would definitely laugh until their bellies split open. Two harmonious spirit experts were actually afraid of a half-step harmonious spirit brat. This was simply a fantasy. However, this was the reality. You two old things, it's time for you to pay your debts. Lin Xian's arms swayed, smashing the two elders to the ground. Don't you dare. Two angry voices rang out. If they were hit, how would they have the face to see others? They might as well just kill themselves. Elder Lu's palm was like a blade, quickly slashing towards Lin Xian's waist. Elder Wang attacked Lin Xian's legs. Boom. Boom boom. Lin Xian took Elder Lu's attack head-on, and his right leg clashed with Elder Wang's. As a result, he vomited blood and was sent flying. The two elders, on the other hand, fell flat on their faces. Their faces made intimate contact with the ground. Furthermore, some colorless powder seeped into Elder Lu and Elder Lu's bodies through their wounds. Crack, crack, crack. The ground shattered, creating a huge crater. Lin Xian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and sneered, "You two are really thick-skinned. You actually shattered the ground. Little bastard, I'm going to kill you." Elder Lu's face was ferocious. He had never been humiliated like this. His face was still covered in gravel. He took a step forward and punched with his right fist. Beside him, Elder Wang took out a long blade and slashed down. His fist was like a huge mountain. It kept getting bigger in the air and smashed towards Lin Xian. The blade was dazzling as it slashed down mercilessly. Lin Xian dodged to the side with a shake of his feet. "Don't you feel uncomfortable?" Lin Xian appeared 50 meters to the right and asked with a smile, "Little bastard, no matter what you say." Before Elder Lu and Elder Wang could finish their words, their voices suddenly stopped as if someone was strangling them. You dare to poison us." Elder Wang's voice was filled with endless resentment. Their faces turned purple, and their blood turned black. The spirit qi in their bodies could not be circulated smoothly. If it was on a normal day, this kind of poison would not be a problem. However, they had been struck by lightning for more than 4 hours, and their bodies were already seriously injured. The poison that they usually did not care about was now something that could take their lives. The spirit qi in the surroundings vibrated violently and rushed towards the two of them, frantically suppressing the poison in their bodies. However, Lin Xian would not give them the chance. He had risked being injured to poison them. He would not let them control the poison so easily. Moreover, Elder Lu and Elder Wang were injured. They could not even use half of their combat strength. Now was the best time to kill them. Lin Xian took a step forward and flew out like a missile. His right fist suddenly punched out. The terrifying power made the air tremble. Silver lightning arcs flew, making his fist shine with silver light. Boom! He sent Elder Lu flying with one punch. His right leg turned into a silver dragon and crashed into Elder Wang's lower abdomen, sending him flying. The mountain trembled, and a human-shaped hole appeared in the wall. "Little bastard, you're courting death." The two of them were furious. They ignored their injuries and poison and pounced on Lin Xian crazily. As long as they killed Lin Xian, they would have time to heal their injuries. "I'll smash your heads today." Lin Xian let out a long howl and punched out with both fists. At the same time, his eyes flashed. Inscriptions flashed as he used an eye technique. Soul Sword and invisible soul force pierced towards Elder Wang, attacking his soul. Elder Wang was caught off guard. He held his head and screamed. After all, he was a harmonious spirit realm warrior. His strength was not something an ordinary person could compare with. At this time, Lin Xian had already punched more than 100 times. Every punch was as heavy as a mountain. When they landed on Elder Lu's body, they made earth-shattering sounds. Only this kind of fist-to-flesh attack could sweep away the grievances he had before. Chapter 293. Elder Lu was already severely injured by the lightning strike. With the poison in his body, he couldn't even use 30% of his strength. This provided Lin Xian with the perfect opportunity. Every time he waved his silver fist through the air, boundless lightning would appear. Bang! Elder Lu was sent into the ground. Half of his body was in the ground. He was mad and his face was extremely ferocious. However, the angrier and more anxious he was, the faster the poison in his body acted up. In the end, his entire body turned purplish black. Clang! Another kick. Lin Xian used the 7 steps of the Dragon Rebellion to stomp on Elder Lu. After reaching the silver lightning mark, not only did his body reach the harmonious spirit realm, even his strength had reached the same level. It could be said that other than his cultivation base, he was no different from a harmonious spirit realm warrior. What powerful strength! This lightning strike was worth it. Lin Xian laughed loudly as he attacked Elder Lu in a frenzy. Silver Lightning Wave. Lin Xian displayed the Silver Thunder body's martial skill. Silver lightning appeared on his palm, and an energy that made people's hearts palpitate spread out. Elder Lu's face turned green. He could feel the threat of death from this energy. If he wasn't injured, he could take this attack head-on even if he couldn't dodge it. However, he was severely injured and poisoned. He couldn't block this attack at all. Elder Wang was also shocked. He didn't dare to attack recklessly. He was afraid that the attack would land on him, and he would be the one to die. In fact, if the two of them worked together, they could fight against Lin Xian even if they were severely injured. However, in the face of death, the two of them made the most foolish choice. Elder Wang forcefully gathered a breath of spirit energy and flew away. At this critical moment, he actually escaped. Elder Lu was furious, and his heart was filled with despair. Lin Xian took the opportunity to use a soul attack to weaken Elder Lu. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, the silver lightning wave was like a silver dragon. With a violent aura, it hit Elder Lu's head. The whole valley was covered in silver lightning. It was as if a sea of lightning had been reborn. The dark clouds in the sky that had dispersed gathered again. Several terrifying lightning bolts struck the ground around them. The unlucky Elder Wong was struck by one of the lightning bolts. His body trembled, and he almost fell from the sky to his death. If that was the case, then he would be the first harmonious spirit realm warrior to fall to his death while flying. When all the light disappeared, Lin Xian's figure was revealed on the mountain peak. Beside him was a charred corpse. Half of its body was buried in the ground, and its head was pierced through. It couldn't be more dead. This extremely arrogant Elder Lu was finally killed by Lin Xian. He would never have dreamed that he would die in the hands of a half-step harmonious spirit expert. After taking off Elder Lu's storage ring, Lin Xian walked to the edge of the cliff and looked into the distance. Elder Wong, who had been struck by lightning once again, trembled as he flew through the air. At the same time, he called over the other disciples of the Star Peak Pavilion. Lin Xian sneered as he slowly drew his sword. The Autumn Scar sword drew a strange trajectory in the air. Lin Xian's aura was also increasing crazily, reaching a terrifying height. Dark clouds rolled in the sky. Huge lightning bolts flashed from time to time. Just a tiny bit of lightning was enough to shatter the nearby mountains. This aura was even more terrifying than the lightning bolts just now. Elder Wong saw this scene, and his body trembled. He almost fell from the sky. He was really scared of being struck by lightning. In addition to his current state, he couldn't fight back at all. Without any other choice, he could only use a secret technique to escape at the cost of his origin. Blood-colored ripples appeared around him, forming a terrifying seal that wrapped around his body. At this moment, the spirit energy in the sky vibrated. All of it crazily rushed to the top of Lin Xian's head. Even the clouds were moving quickly, forming the shadow of a huge sword. Such a terrifying aura. What kind of martial art is this? The disciples of the Star Peak Pavilion below were pale. Their bodies were trembling. Under this kind of power, they couldn't resist at all. Why is Elder Wong injured? Is it because of that brat? Where is Elder Lu? The group of disciples realized that the situation was more terrifying than they thought. They didn't dare to think further. Go and stop him. Elder Wong's body was covered in blood. A terrifying aura erupted from his body. He was like a demon king. The disciples below were trembling. If they went up to fight this kind of battle, it would be suicide. The forest was silent. No one stepped forward. Old man, stop struggling. Old dog Lu is dead. You should go down and accompany him. Lin Xian's voice was loud, spreading everywhere. What? Elder Lu is dead? Impossible. Elder Lu is a harmonious spirit expert. How could he die? The group of disciples couldn't believe it. However, Elder Lu didn't appear. It seemed to prove Lin Xian's words. Thieflin, you killed Elder Lu. The Star Peak Pavilion won't let you go. When I return, it will be the day of your death. Elder Wong shouted. Blood Demon's secret escape art. Blood chi filled the sky. Elder Wong's body emitted a dazzling red light. Gale Lightning Sword. Mountain Break Sword. The surrounding spirit energy gathered crazily. Dark clouds rolled in the sky. Lightning gathered to form a giant sword. When the terrifying long sword appeared, the surrounding spirit energy surged. Countless gusts of wind blew and entered the giant sword. The heavenly greatsword gradually became real, as if it could crush the heaven and earth. Gusts of wind and lightning surrounded the sword, forming an ancient pattern. It emitted an ancient aura. Slash. Along with Lin Xian's shout, the heavenly greatsword fell from the sky. The air trembled and receded to both sides like the tide. The sky seemed to be torn apart, and the clouds were split in half. The trees and mountains in the surroundings were quickly shattered, turning into dust that drifted with the wind. Elder Wong's body was covered in blood. He was locked in place and couldn't escape. No, I won't die. He was in a state of madness. He simply stopped running. Blood Sea Star Transformation. Elder Wong absorbed the surrounding blood mist into his body. A 1,000-meter-tall blood giant appeared behind him. It held a giant star in its hand and smashed towards the heavenly greatsword. Rumble. The two collided. Everything within a 1,000-meter radius was covered in lightning and wind. Terrifying energy waves swept in all directions. Everywhere it passed, it turned into ashes. The disciples of the Star Peak Pavilion couldn't escape in time. They were all turned into blood mist. They didn't even have the chance to scream. Lin Xian's black hair danced wildly. He fully activated his sword intent and merged it with the Gale Lightning Sword. Crack! The star shattered. The blood giant was hit and was quickly torn apart. Elder Wang let out a scream as he was swallowed by the huge sword intent. With a move of the sword, mountains and rivers were shattered. When everything calmed down, terrifying cracks appeared on the ground. The forest and mountains were all cut in half. Elder Wang couldn't be more dead. Not even his corpse was left. Lin Xian's face was pale, and his body was a little weak. This Gale Lightning Sword was more terrifying than he had imagined. It almost drained all the spirit energy in his body. Sitting on the ground weakly, Lin Xian took out a cup of spirit wine and drank it. Refreshing. He laughed out loud. Chapter 294. Killing 2 harmonious spirit realm experts in one fell swoop. This kind of achievement could scare people to death. One must know that Lin Xian was only a half-step harmonious spirit realm expert. Of course, this kind of achievement could not be replicated. Firstly, Lin Xian had a strong body, comparable to a harmonious spirit realm expert. Moreover, he had the Gale Lightning Sword art, an inherited martial art that surpassed Earth-rank martial arts. Secondly, Elder Liu and Elder Wang were struck by lightning, heavily injured and poisoned. They could not even use 30% of their strength. Under these circumstances, Lin Xian was able to kill 2 harmonious spirit realm experts. However, he did not let the victory go to his head. Lin Xian knew very well that under normal circumstances, it was very difficult to kill a harmonious spirit realm expert. However, he was confident that he could fight Lin Feng now. 4 hours later, Lin Xian's body recovered, and his strength returned to its peak state. The lightning mark on his body disappeared, and he returned to his normal state, looking like a delicate and handsome young man. However, when this young man went crazy, even harmonious spirit realm experts would die. Lin Xian took out a black ring. There were ancient patterns engraved on it, and it was glowing with a dim light. This storage ring was something he had obtained from Elder Liu. Under the might of the Gale Lightning Sword, the space within Elder Wang's storage ring had been shattered. Everything inside the storage ring had been learned. What a pity! Lin Xian's face was filled with pain. A harmonious spirit realm expert storage ring was definitely a good thing. Exhaling, he probed the storage ring with his soul force. Then, he was overjoyed. Lin Xian was already mentally prepared, but he didn't expect the things inside to still shock him. There were dozens of chests of spirit stones, all of which were mid-grade spirit stones, a large number of profound rank treasures, and dozens of martial arts manuals. This was simply a small treasury. Lin Xian calculated for a moment. The things inside were more than what he had gotten from the others. Old thing, you're really rich. Lin Xian was in a good mood. After putting away the storage ring, Lin Xian took out a map and quickly found a nearby ferry. The most important thing now was to leave Heavenly Mountain. His body swayed, and he disappeared. The Yinshan River had many twists and turns, spanning more than half of the Tianshan Kingdom. Lin Xian followed the map and came to a secret crossing. According to the map, the ferry would open once every 7 days, and every time, it would open at midnight. Lin Xian wasn't in a hurry. He sat down cross-legged, comprehending the Gale Lightning Sword art while waiting. 2 days later, the moon was dark and the wind was strong. A chilly wind blew on the profounding river, causing people's souls to tremble. Lin Xian felt an indescribable aura and felt uneasy. He stopped meditating and stood up, looking around cautiously. At midnight, ripples suddenly appeared on the surface of the river, and a black shadow quickly approached the shore. Lin Xian's eyes flashed as he looked ahead. A small boat floated over, and a boatman dressed in white stood on it. His face was abnormally pale. The boat was even more special. It was actually made of paper. Such a scene, especially in the middle of the night, could not help but appear somewhat eerie and terrifying. Lin Xian's scalp went numb, and he felt extremely uncomfortable. Do you want to take the ferry? The boat stopped at the shore, and the white-robed boatman asked in a low voice. The voice was somewhat stiff, like a puppet. It didn't sound like a normal person at all. However, Lin Xian didn't have any other choice. He had to leave this place as soon as possible, and this was the only way right now.
Yes.
Lin Xian replied. The fairy fee is a high-level profound class artifact. The boatman said slowly. What? High-level profound class artifact? Lin Xian picked his ears to make sure he didn't hear wrong. A high-level profound class artifact was not something that could be found anywhere. The Autumn Scar sword he used was only a mid-level profound class artifact. Thinking back, he had spent a lot of effort to get it. Damn, this is too much, Lin Xian mumbled. Luckily, he was rich, and he even got Elder Lu's storage ring. Otherwise, just the fairy fee alone would make him feel pain for a while. Taking out a high-level profound class artifact saber from his storage ring, Lin Xian handed it over. The white-robed boatman put away the artifact saber and said slowly, Please board the boat. Lin Xian carefully walked onto the boat, and only then did he realize that the boatman's clothes were also made of paper. However, what made him feel relieved was that the paper boat only shook a little and didn't sink. The white-robed boatman paddled, and the boat quickly moved forward. Stop looking. This boat won't sink, Lord Alcohol said with a smile. There's an array inside, so it's not as weak as you think. An array? Lin Xian was even more curious. What kind of faction would do such a business? Hey, how long will this boat take? Not necessarily, the boatman answered mechanically. Following that, Lin Xian asked a few more questions before losing interest. The boatman was like a block of wood. His knowledge was limited, and he couldn't get anything out of him. Lin Xian had nothing to do, so he could only meditate and cultivate. The only fortunate thing was that the 3 days had passed without any incident. At midnight on the third day, the boat arrived at the shore. Lin Xian got off the boat and left without looking back. Only when he was completely away from the mysterious river did he slow down his pace. Taking out the map, Lin Xian carefully compared it. He was now in the Eagle Nation, and after crossing the Eagle Nation, he would reach the Rain Country. The Great Xia Country and the Rain Country were neighbors. Summoning Little Gold, Lin Xian determined the direction and quickly moved forward. 2 months later, Lin Xian arrived at the Rain Country. During this time, he had completely consolidated the Silver Thunder pattern and comprehended the first sword of the Gale Lightning Sword. Other than that, the Wind Emperor had comprehended 70% of the first sword, and the Green Cloud Sword had reached the sixth sword. Also, his sword intent had reached the peak of 40%. He took out the sword intent treasure box, and his eyes flashed. I could only open a small gap in the Bronze Thunder body. Now that I have mastered the Silver Thunder pattern, how much can I open the sword intent treasure box? Lin Xian had an idea, and he decided to increase his sword intent again. He found an empty valley, put away Little Gold, and set up a defensive array. Everything was ready, and Lin Xian took out the sword intent treasure box. Wong, Wong. The air vibrated, and the Silver Thunder pattern appeared on Lin Xian's body, like a silver armor. With the Silver Thunder pattern, his confidence increased greatly. He exerted force in his palm, and the sword intent treasure box slowly opened. A sharp sword intent spread out from the treasure box, as if it could pierce through everything. The thunder pattern on Lin Xian's body flowed, resisting the terrifying sword intent. The treasure box slowly opened, and 1/3 of it was opened. Last time at this place, Lin Xian's body had a terrifying crack, and the bronze thunder pattern couldn't withstand it. But now, although he was in pain, he could completely resist it. From this point, it could be seen that the Silver Thunder body was more than twice as powerful as the Bronze Thunder body. Holding the treasure box, Lin Xian wholeheartedly comprehended the sword intent. The large dragon sword intent in his body rumbled, continuously absorbing and strengthening. Half a day later, Lin Xian completely comprehended 1/3 of the sword intent, but his sword intent still didn't increase. But compared to half a day ago, his sword intent was much stronger. Again, Lin Xian clenched his teeth and once again enlarged the gap of the treasure box. Ka. Fine sword chi appeared in the air, and the power was comparable to the attack of a harmonious spirit warrior, extremely powerful. Chapter 295. Lin Xian felt an incomparable pressure. The sharp sword qi hit his body, leaving a terrifying sword mark on the silver lightning mark. The box continued to open, and when it reached 2/3 of the mark, the sword intent suddenly doubled. Swoosh! As if there were real swords in the air, Lin Xian's silver lightning body was torn apart, and terrifying cracks appeared on it. This sword intent was already very terrifying. One had to know that Lin Xian's body was as tough as a harmonious spirit realm warrior. It was abnormally tough. Maintaining this level of sword intent, Lin Xian began to comprehend it. He carefully adjusted the great dragon sword intent in his body to fight against the sword intent in the box, constantly perfecting his own sword intent. The invisible collision made the air tremble, and the ground was torn apart like a piece of cloth. Countless wounds appeared on Lin Xian's body. However, he could feel that the great dragon sword intent was slowly increasing. One day later, a dragon's roar came from Lin Xian's body, as if a giant dragon was roaring. He put away the box and drew a line in the air with his finger. The sword intent surged, and the sword qi was like a green dragon, tearing the air apart. 50% sword intent. Lin Xian was excited. His combat power had increased by a lot compared to a few days ago. Even if he didn't use the Gale Lightning Sword, with his great dragon sword intent, it was enough to threaten a harmonious spirit realm warrior. Putting away the formation, Lin Xian quickly recovered. One day later, he let out a long whistle and rode on Xiaojin again. Xiaojin's speed was very fast, almost the same as Lin Xian's speed when he was charging at full speed. In addition to the long endurance of a demonic beast, Lin Xian passed through Rain Country and arrived at the Long Province of Xia Country in 2 months. The Long Province was where the Sword Lake Prefecture's Lin clan was located. Among the 7 provinces of Xia Country, it was a top existence. The Lin clan of Sword Lake Prefecture was one of the top forces in Xia Country. Every time they held a clan meeting, it would cause a commotion among all the forces in Xia Country. Many sects and aristocratic families would also send people to congratulate them. Firstly, it was to get closer to the Sword Lake Prefecture. Secondly, it was to see the power of the top forces. After all, in order for a force to survive, in addition to the combat power of the older generation, it also needed new blood. The stronger the younger generation was, the longer the vitality of the clan. As early as a month ago, the people of the various states had begun to move. Currently, the Sword Pool Mansion had already welcomed countless martial artists, and a large group of martial artists from the pugilistic world were hurrying over. At this moment, in the forest at the border of the Long Province, a handsome young man was sitting on a strange golden frog, looking up at the city in the distance. Lin Feng, Jinqi Palace, I'm finally back. Father, mother, second uncle, grandfather. One by one, the images of his family flashed through his mind. It had been 2 years, and he could finally go back. Lin Xian smirked and patted Xiaojin. The latter turned into a streak of golden light and sped towards the huge city. Sword Crafting City was famous in China because of the Sword Pool Manor. It occupied a large area and could be said to be the largest city in China other than the capital. The tall city walls were engraved with sharp swords, forming a terrifying aura, causing people to feel fearful just by looking at them. Lin Xian had already kept Xiaojin. He looked at the magnificent sword crafting city and felt a wave of excitement in his heart. With light steps, he walked through the city gate. Within the city, streams of people flowed, and it was extremely lively. On both sides of the wide street, there were countless shops. The sound of hawking could be heard everywhere. It was full of life. Lin Xian had spent half a year fighting in the mountains and forests. Now that he saw the bustling atmosphere of the city, he felt particularly close to it. On the road, he could hear the discussions of martial artists everywhere. Most of them were about the Sword Pool Mansion. Did you know that Lin Feng is already first on the Hidden Dragon ranking? That's nothing. I heard that he obtained an Earth rank martial art. That's a legendary martial art. It's said that even some of the older generation aren't his match. From the conversations of the crowd, Lin Xian found out that not only did Lin Feng not die, but he had become even more powerful. This was similar to what he had expected. Lin Feng had escaped the pursuit and returned alive. He sped up and headed straight for the Sword Pool Mansion. At this moment, The sword pool mansion was extremely lively. There were many martial artists coming and going. At the grand entrance, a middle-aged man who looked like a butler greeted the martial artists with a smile. However, there was a hint of arrogance in his smile. This middle-aged man was called Lin Tao. He was one of Lin Xian's people. When Lin Xian was in the sword pool mansion, he had seen him do many evil things. The corner of his mouth raised slightly. Lin Xian walked over. "Stop. Which family are you from? Do you have an invitation? Do you have a gift?" Lin Tao's face was slightly gloomy as he said unhappily. All the martial artists who came and one would give him some benefits, such as spirit stones and pills. However, this brat in front of him didn't even look at him and directly ignored him. This made Lin Tao unable to tolerate it. Some of the servants beside him also said coldly, "This is the sword pool mansion. Not everyone can enter." "Is that so? Do I need to pay a gift when I go home?" Lin Xian turned around and said indifferently with a smile. Seeing that delicate face, Lin Tao was stunned for a moment. Then, as if he had thought of something, his face changed drastically. "Lin Xian, you actually dare to come back?" "Humph." Hearing that, Lin Xian's face darkened. A terrifying mental pressure enveloped Lin Tao. Instantly, Lin Tao's face turned deathly pale, and his body was on the verge of collapse. The surrounding martial artists were shocked. Lin Tao was a 7th-level spiritual sea realm martial artist. That was peak battle prowess. Now, he was actually frightened to this extent by one look. It was truly hard to believe. Young Master Xian. Lin Tao was greatly shocked and didn't dare to be rash. Lin Xian's expression was calm, and he didn't even look at Lin Tao as he slowly walked into the sword pool mansion. If he couldn't even deal with a servant, then he didn't need to come back. The surrounding martial artists cried out in shock, staring blankly at Lin Xian's back. Lin Tao's face darkened, and he quickly said to the disciple beside him, "Hurry up and tell Master that Lin Xian is here." That disciple left quickly. Lin Tao tried his best to calm down and continued to receive guests. Walking into the sword pool mansion, Lin Xian walked inside with ease. The inside was grand and magnificent, with pavilions and towers, green mountains and clear waters, everything that one could imagine. The disciples of various sects gathered together, chatting and laughing with each other. Most of these disciples were from the younger generation. They were very energetic and had confident smiles on their faces. Occasionally, there would be spirit energy flowing on their bodies. These disciples were all at the 4th level of spiritual sea realm and above. They were considered elites in the younger generation of Xia country, but compared to Tian Shan country, they were still lacking. Not to mention others, just in the Star Summit Pavilion, Lin Xian saw many half-step harmonious spirit martial artists, while the peak of Xia country was only half-step harmonious spirit. Of course, Xia country also had peak geniuses, such as Lin Xian and Lin Feng. Lin Xian walked quickly, and he saw many familiar faces. Tong Lan and Tong Yu from the Tong family, Lung Adao and Ice Snow Fairy from the Snow-Seeking sect, Wei Wei and Lu Yang from the 10,000 Treasures Tower. Lin Xian smiled and greeted them. Lin Xian. These people also had joyful faces and quickly walked over. In the crowd, most of them looked at Lin Xian. Many of them had heard of his deeds. The disciples of the Tsang family and the Earth Fire sect looked unfriendly. Their gazes seemed to be able to kill. However, no one dared to make a move. Firstly, they were afraid of Lin Xian's strength. Secondly, this was the sword pool mansion. No one dared to make a move here. Lin Xian chatted with the crowd, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. At this moment, a group of disciples wearing the Lin clan's uniform walked over aggressively, their expressions abnormally gloomy. Chapter 296. A group of disciples of the Lin clan walked over aggressively. Wherever they passed, the crowd would disperse. Lin Xian, I remember that you have been expelled from the clan. How dare you come back? Get lost, you piece of trash. The group of disciples of the Lin clan came to Lin Xian and began to mock him. They did not put him in their eyes at all. The person in front was wearing a white brocade robe with a divine sword embroidered on his sleeves. He was handsome, but his eyes were too gloomy, making people uncomfortable as if they were being stared at by a poisonous snake. Lin Yong, so many years have passed. Are you still Lin Feng's lackey? Lin Xian said casually. These people did not put Lin Xian in their eyes, and Lin Xian did not put them in his eyes either. He had already killed 2 harmonious spirit realm warriors, not to mention these little ghosts. Lin Xian, this is the Sword Lake Prefecture. You can't be so presumptuous. You guys, throw him out. Remember to throw him far away. Lin Yong was like a cat whose tail was stepped on, roaring angrily. Brother Lin, Lung Yidao, and the others were worried. Lin Xian smiled and looked over. The illusion in his eyes shrouded the people who were rushing over. His soul force was at the peak of the 2nd grade. These people could not resist at all. The disciples of the Lin clan were confused at first. Then they began to expose each other's secrets and finally started to fight. You, what did you do? Lin Yong looked at the crazy disciples and screamed in horror. Since you want to be my lackey so much, I'll let you be. Lin Xian smiled coldly. His eyes moved, and an invisible illusion shrouded Lin Yong. Lin Xian's body trembled slightly. He suddenly lay on the ground and began to bark like a dog, as if he was really a puppy. The surrounding warriors were stunned. This kind of method was too terrifying. Just a glance was enough to make these people act like a clown. If Lin Xian wanted to kill them, they would have died long ago. Could it be the Tao of Soul? Someone exclaimed. The Lin clan is really full of geniuses. A bunch of trash. Get lost. A furious roar sounded like thunder, waking everyone up. Lin Yong and the others quickly stood up. They were so embarrassed that their necks were red. They wished they could find a hole to hide in. Lin Xian, good job. Since you want to stay, then stay. Anyway, after today, my brother Lin Feng will be the young master of Sword Lake Palace. It doesn't matter if you're here or not. This voice was full of energy and carried an insufferably arrogant tone, which made people who heard it feel very disgusted. A young man walked out from a nearby pavilion. His chin was slightly raised, and he was as proud as a rooster. Really? I'm looking forward to it, Lin Xian said indifferently. From beginning to end, Lin Xian appeared very calm, without a trace of anger. On the contrary, those people who had made things difficult for him had all been dealt with until they lost their temper. Older brother Xian, it's really you. 2 figures ran over from the rockery in the distance. It was a man and a woman. They looked very cute. These 2 were the children of Second Master Lin, Lin Xing, and Lin Yu. The 2 of them were only 14 years old. Their small faces were so tender that water could be squeezed out. You bunch of bastards. How dare you bully older brother Xian? Do you believe that I won't smack your buttocks? Lin Xing, snorted with her hands on her waist. Lin Rong, do you believe that I won't smack you? Lin Yu also said to the young man in the pavilion. You don't need to be arrogant. When older brother Lin Feng becomes the young master, I'll teach you a lesson. Lin Rong's face was ashen. There was a group of young men standing beside him. They were all Lin Feng's disciples. Forget it. Ignore them, Lin Xian said with a smile. Long time no see. The 2 of you have grown up. What do you want this time? Hee, older brother Xian. My father said that you've had a hard time outside. Just give us a greeting gift, Lin Yu said with a smile. What good things can a pauper have? Lin Rong and the others mocked. Don't take out some junk. It'll be embarrassing. Lin Xing, was also afraid that Lin Xian would make things difficult for Lin Xian. She tugged at Lin Xian and said, Older brother Xian, why don't we go see my father? The family meeting is about to begin. There was no hurry. Let's give the gifts first. Lin Xian took out 2 pieces of antique jewelry. One was a round bracelet strung with 12 blue pearls. There were exquisite patterns engraved on it. The other was a pendant of stars. It was the size of a walnut and glowed with a faint light. Lin Xian gave the pearl bracelet to Lin Xing, and the star pendant to Lin Yu. The 2 of them were overjoyed by the outcome and couldn't be happier. TSK, it was just 2 pieces of junk. Trash was indeed trash. Lin Rong and the others sneered. However, just as he finished speaking, he saw a bright light emerge from Lin Xing, and Lin Yu. The 12 pearls glowed and formed a 12-sword array. A terrifying aura emanated from the surroundings. So powerful? Lin Yu was excited. He also channeled his spirit energy. The pendant of stars swayed gently. Blue ripples rippled, forming a star shadow that enveloped Lin Yu. So powerful, this was a high-grade mystic artifact. Lin Yu shouted happily. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as their hearts trembled violently. Taking out 2 high-grade profound rank artifacts all at once without even blinking his eyes, this was too terrifying. After all, most of them were still fighting to the death for a low-grade profound rank treasured artifact. Lin Rong and the others swallowed their saliva. They wanted to retaliate, but they realized that they could not say anything. They all lowered their heads dejectedly. Just you wait. Lin Rong was too ashamed to stay. Lin Xing, and Lin Yu revealed victorious expressions. Lin Xian rubbed their heads and said, "These 2 artifacts will automatically defend themselves. Try not to take the initiative to attack. After all, the high-grade mystic artifacts require too much spirit energy." "Got it. Thank you, older brother Xian." The 2 little guys kissed Lin Xian on the face. "Let's go." Lin Xian smiled. He did not want to miss the family meeting. The group walked majestically towards the huge square in the east. That was the Lin clan's martial arts arena. It was unusually grand and could accommodate tens of thousands of people. At this time, most of the warriors were in the arena. The important figures of the Lin clan were also there. "Father, look who's here." Lin Xing, and Lin Yu pulled Lin Xian and quickly ran towards the huge spectator stand. The golden spectator stand was majestic. The important figures of the Lin clan were seated there. In addition, there were also elders from other sections. On both sides were warriors of the younger generation. Although Lin Xing's voice was soft, her identity as the little princess of the Lin clan was not to be underestimated. The dark crowd forcibly parted to form a path for the 3 of them to pass through quickly. Second Master Lin looked back dotingly. When he saw Lin Xian, his body suddenly trembled. "Xianer, you're finally back." Second Master Lin was excited. He stood up happily and waved his hand. A huge palm of light covered the sky and brought Lin Xian and the other 2 to the stage. "Second uncle, I'm back." Lin Xian was also excited. At this moment, countless gazes fell on him. Lin Xian's eyes were gloomy. No one knew what he was thinking. There was an old man in his seat. Although his hair was white, his eyes were incomparably deep. This man was Lin Xian's father and also Lin Xian's grandfather. Back then, he was competing with Lin Xian's grandfather for the position of clan leader. In the end, he lost and was now the great elder of the clan. "Xianer, get ready for the competition," Second Master Lin said. "Second Master, this Lin Xian seems to have been chased out of the clan. How is he qualified to participate in the competition?" Lin Xian said indifferently. "You said he was chased out? And I said he wasn't chased out?" Second Master Lin glared and snorted coldly. "That was the decision of the elders. Do you dare to disobey?" Lin Xian's voice was a little cold. "Elders? As a member of the elders, how could I not know about this?" An old voice rang out, carrying with it a heavy pressure. Chapter 297. The person who spoke was the 3rd elder of Lin Xian's faction. At this moment, he decisively stood out to support Lin Xian. In fact, Lin Xian's expulsion back then was completely a conspiracy. At that time, the patriarch was in seclusion and Lin Xian's father had disappeared. The 1st elder took control of the elder group and expelled Lin Xian, the young master. After that, although Lin Xian's faction was furious, they couldn't find any trace of Lin Xian. This matter gradually calmed down. Now that Lin Xian had returned, the clan members behind him naturally wouldn't let this matter rest. Their cultivation was so high that no one could compare to them except for the patriarch. "That's enough. Here." The 1st elder who had been silent suddenly spoke. "Today is a big day for our Lin family. Don't let these small matters spoil the mood. Lin Xian, your status as a disciple of the Lin family has temporarily been restored. You can participate in the family meeting. However, you can only return to the clan if you obtain 1st place. Otherwise, you will be expelled again. Do you have any objections?" The 1st elder said indifferently. "What 1st place? Lin Xian clearly didn't do anything wrong. Why should he be expelled?" Second Master Lin was furious. "Okay, second uncle, I agree." Lin Xian pulled Second Master Lin's sleeve and shook his head slightly. The current situation was very unfavorable for Lin Xian's faction. His grandfather was in seclusion, and the first elder relied on various methods to control more than half of Sword Pool Manor. Moreover, not long ago, the first elder had broken through to the spirit transformation realm. It could be said that he was abnormally powerful. Since you are a disciple of the Lin family, you should obey the family rules. You can't deny this, right? The first elder said indifferently. Of course. Lin Xian nodded. According to the family rules, you can't cause trouble and can't kill the innocent. Not only did you repeatedly harm Feng on Levitating Island, but you also used despicable means to kill Meng Yin, an Earth Fire Sect disciple. Do you know your crimes? The first elder suddenly shouted coldly. What? Meng Yin is dead? Lin Xian killed him? Everyone's expression changed as they stared at Lin Xian. Who was Meng Yin? He was the #1 person on the Hidden Dragon Roll, the target of countless young martial artists. But now, the idol in their hearts was dead, and he was killed by a disciple of the Lin family. If this was not handled properly, a sect war would definitely break out. If the two top forces were to go to war, the impact would be huge. Lin Xian's face darkened. He didn't think that this old thing would play such a trick on him. He had just admitted that he was a disciple of the Lin family. As a disciple of the Lin family, he had to follow the rules of the Lin family. Moreover, Meng Yin was indeed killed by him. If he resisted and disobeyed the rules of the clan, then the Grand Elder would have the chance to expel him in front of everyone again. If that happened, he would really lose the opportunity to enter his family's ancestral land. Lin Xian gnashed his teeth in anger. Old bastard. This move is quite sinister. Second Master Lin and the rest were also shocked. He cast a questioning look at Lin Xian, but when he saw Lin Xian's expression, he confirmed that this matter had indeed happened. Otherwise, with Lin Xian's character, he would definitely deny it at the first moment. At this moment, the Earth Fire Sect Elder suddenly stood up and said with a ferocious expression, Grand Elder Lin, this brat is Meng Yan's murderer. Grand Elder Lin, please say the word and hand him over to our Earth Fire Sect to be dealt with. No. Second Master Lin shouted. If they handed him over, they would definitely torture him to death. Lin Zheng, the matter is already very clear. Don't tell me you still want to protect this murderer. Lin Xian sneered. Where's the evidence? You can't just spout nonsense, right? Third Elder said solemnly. Yes, show us the evidence. Otherwise, we won't let you take Lin Xian away. Fifth Elder also echoed. Other than that, there were a few other elders who stood on Lin Xian's side. The other elders also spoke up for the Grand Elder. From this, it could be seen that the Grand Elder's influence had almost completely infiltrated the Sword Pool Palace. Even the elders under Lin Xian's faction spoke up for him. You want evidence? Grand Elder said in a deep voice. I'll show you the evidence now. No need, Lin Xian said indifferently. Everyone was puzzled and looked at Lin Xian with puzzled eyes. Even Lin Xian and the Grand Elder's eyes flashed with doubt. I was the one who killed him, Lin Xian said slowly, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. What? He really killed him? Meng Yin is a half-step harmonious spirit expert. How could he kill him? Everyone exclaimed. The martial artists below started to discuss among themselves. They originally came to watch the Lin clan's martial arts competition. Who would have thought that such a shocking scene would happen? Impossible. Second Master Lin and the others denied it immediately. They didn't want to belittle Lin Xian, but Meng Yin was too outstanding. Half a year ago, even Lin Feng didn't have the confidence to kill Meng Yin, let alone Lin Xian. Moreover, they also checked Lin Xian's cultivation, but they didn't find anything unusual. Of course, they didn't know that Lin Xian had a special secret technique that could hide his cultivation. Moreover, the black cloak could also conceal his qi. Lin Xian and the Grand Elder were even more puzzled. They originally wanted to take out some specious evidence and force Lin Xian to admit his guilt through coercion and intimidation. As long as Lin Xian endured it, he would be dead. However, they didn't expect the process to be so smooth. They didn't even need to prepare the evidence. What an idiot! Lin Xian was overjoyed. Since he has admitted his guilt, then it's easy to handle. Elder Ming, I'll leave him to you. If you want to kill him, do as you deem fit. The Sword Lake Palace won't interfere. The Grand Elder said slowly. Wait, Lin Xian shouted coldly. I haven't finished yet. The Grand Elder seems to be impatient. You have admitted your guilt. What else is there to say? That's right. The Lin clan doesn't have a trash like you. Trash? I killed Ming Yin, the number one of the hidden dragon ranking. How dare you say that I'm trash? Lin Xian sneered. Fourth Elder, please tell me, what is not trash? Are you saying that you're not trash because you've lived for more than 100 years and your cultivation is still at the early harmonious spirit realm? You. The Fourth Elder was trembling with anger. Rebel, you're rebelling. Men, take him down. Fourth Elder, I'm afraid it's not your turn to tell us what to do. Second Master Lin sneered. Xianer, tell us everything. Even if the sky falls, I'll support you. Yes, you still have us old bones. Don't worry, we won't let you leave with them without knowing what happened. Second uncle, great-grandfathers, don't worry. I'll explain everything. Lin Xian said slowly. That day, I got something from the floating island and was attacked by a group of people. Meng Yin was one of them. They wanted to kill me and steal my treasure, but I killed them instead. Everyone, please be reasonable. Someone wanted to kill me. Can't I fight back? The crowd was in an uproar. After listening to Lin Xian's explanation, most of them agreed with him. What's wrong with killing someone to steal his treasure? That's right. You're surrounded. Can't you fight back? Lu Yangwei and the others took the lead. On the huge platform, Second Master Lin said with a smile, So it's the disciples of the Earth Fire sect who wanted to kill me and steal my treasure. Elder Ming, you're so impressive. How dare you bully my nephew? You really think there's no one in the Swordpool Mansion? No. Elder Ming panicked in front of the powerful Second Master Lin. After all, this was not his territory. Second Master, this is only the boy's side of the story. You can't believe it. Lin said coldly. Lin Xian, I advise you to tell us the truth about the assassination of Ming Yin. I'm telling you the truth. Unfortunately, Lin Feng wasn't there at the time. Otherwise, I would have killed him. Lin Xian said coldly. How dare you? Lin was furious. The great elder's face darkened, his eyes flashing coldly. Chapter 298. Men, take him down. Lin was furious. Lin Xian dared to say that he would kill his son in front of everyone. He could not tolerate this. A few warriors quickly stepped forward, wanting to take Lin Xian down. Let's see who dares. Second Master Lin was furious. His eyes were as sharp as swords, sweeping across the area. Second Master, this is not the time for you to behave atrociously. Lin stood up, his body glowing. Come at me if you wanna. Second Master Lin did not back down. Two auras exploded. The auras of harmonious spirit realm warriors swept across the area. The expressions of the few martial artists who wanted to capture Lin Xian changed drastically. They were unable to withstand this force and were blown away on the spot. The air let out a low sound and exploded. A few turbulent currents rushed toward Lin Xinger and Lin Yu. Buzz. The air vibrated. 12 sword formations appeared quickly, surrounding Lin Xinger and destroying the turbulent currents. Starlight shone, and a huge star shadow wrapped around Lin Yu, blocking everything outside. This sudden change shocked everyone. Many elders were bewildered. Second Master Lin was also confused. Where did you get this? Brother Xian gave it to us. The two little guys hugged Lin Xian's arm. Everyone's expression changed. Everyone present was a harmonious spirit realm warrior, so their eyes were not bad. Judging from the power just now, these were two high-grade mystic artifacts. How did Lin Xian have these? Seeing everyone's different expressions, Lin Xian touched his chin. Since he was back, he did not plan to keep a low profile. He smiled and flicked his storage ring. A long sword with purple light appeared in his hand. As soon as the purple sword appeared, the surrounding spiritual energy vibrated, forming a vortex. A high-grade mystic artifact. Many people exclaimed. Immediately, pairs of fiery eyes fell on the sword. Second uncle, do you like it? Lin Xian handed it over. Haha, all right. Second Master Lin did not hesitate. He took the sword and stabbed it into the sky. Whoosh! Boom! The purple sword aura surged, forming a thick sword aura that rushed into the sky and tore the clouds apart. Good sword. Second Master Lin laughed. As long as second uncle likes it, Lin Xian said with a smile. Then, he handed the third elder a high-grade mystic class sword with a sword skill imbued on it. The third elder beamed with joy as he laughed heartily. Suddenly, the surrounding atmosphere changed. With these two artifacts, the strength of Lin Xian's side had increased by a large margin. If a fight really broke out, Lin Xian would definitely have to pay a heavy price. However, Lin had the support of the Earth-Fire sect. The Earth-Fire sect was also a 3-star sect. It was very powerful. The 5 elders that came this time were all harmonious spirit experts. Their combat strength was absolutely terrifying. Arrest all those who violate the family rules. Lin growled. 5 Earth-Fire sect elders stepped forward. Together with the Lin family elders, they formed a terrifying aura that pressed down on Lin Xian. On the huge grandstand, the other forces were all silent. Some elders even closed their eyes. The cultivators below all stood there in a daze. At this time, laughter came from the huge grandstand again. Originally, this was the Lin family's matter. We can't interfere. But since the Earth-Fire sect has joined in, then we can't just sit there. At this time, someone made a move. Everyone was shocked again. Countless gazes looked towards the stage. Myriad Treasure Tower. It's actually the Myriad Treasure Tower. Many cultivators exclaimed. Even the other forces on the grandstand were discussing. As everyone knew, the Myriad Treasure Tower had always been a neutral force. They focused on business, so they were required to maintain good relations with the various forces. Therefore, the Myriad Treasure Tower never interfered with the matters of the underworld, let alone the matters of a top force like the Sword Pool Manor. But today, they actually made an exception. The Myriad Treasure Tower is trying to curry favor with the Sword Pool Manor and Earth-Fire sect. Could it be that they heard something? Someone wondered. Are you stupid? It must be because of Lin Feng. Who wouldn't want to curry favor with a genius who grasped Earth-rank martial arts? Many thanks to Elder Gu and the rest for taking action. The Sword Pool Manor and Earth-Fire sect will be eternally grateful. Lin smiled. Not so. Elder Gu shook his head. Young friend Lin is indebted to our Myriad Treasure Tower, and is even more indebted to this old man. Furthermore, I believe what young friend Lin said. Head Elder Lin, please reconsider. These words were like heavenly thunder, blasting everyone into a daze. The Myriad Treasure Tower actually supported Lin Xian? Furthermore, Elder Gu addressed him as young friend. The martial artists all around discussed incessantly, digging up the matters of Lin Xian and the Myriad Treasure Tower. The expressions of Lin and the Earth-Fire sect's elders also changed slightly. This result was not what they expected. Elder Gu, is this your intention, or the Myriad Treasure Tower's intention? Lin asked in a deep voice. If it was his personal intention, this matter was still easy to handle. If it was the Myriad Treasure Tower's intention, then this matter would be troublesome. Once they fell out with the top business alliances of China, the gains would absolutely not make up for the losses. This is this old man's intention, and also the Myriad Treasure Tower's intention, Elder Gu said with a smile. At the same time, he smiled and nodded at Lin Xian. Thank you, Elder Gu. Lin Xian was grateful. Lin Xian, don't think that with the Myriad Treasure Tower's support, we can't do anything to you. Lin snorted coldly. That's right. We firmly support Master's decision. The Tsang family's elders stood out. We believe in Lin Xian. The Tong family supported Lin Xian. At the same time, Lung Yidao, Ice Fairy, and the rest also spoke to support Lin Xian. Both of them were genius disciples of the Snow-Seeking sect. Their attitudes could not be ignored. Could it be that the Snow-Seeking sect also wants to support Lin Xian? Everyone was shocked. That was also a 3-star sect. Even Lin looked back nervously. However, when he saw the Snow-Seeking sect's elder sitting there with a cold face and not saying a word, he immediately felt relieved. Lin Xian, to be able to get so many people to plead for you, you're quite capable, Lin said in a deep voice. However, no matter who comes, they won't be able to save you today. When he saw that Lin Xian had such power, Lin wanted to get rid of Lin Xian even more. Is that so? What big words. Another sneer was heard. Lin Xian will definitely protect him. The crowd was boiling. The originally certain death situation had actually turned around bit by bit. This scene definitely stimulated everyone's nerves. Lin's face was gloomy. Someone actually dared to oppose him in public. This was simply not putting him in their eyes, and even more so, not putting the Sword Pool Palace in their eyes. His gaze was cold. He wanted to know who dared to be so bold. However, when he saw who it was, his pupils constricted and his body froze. When the elders of the other forces saw this, they were also stunned. Even the Lin family's first elder, who had been silent, sat up straight. The Inscription Alliance, they had actually appeared. The Inscription Alliance was not only distributed in the Xia country, but also in the entire Tianan region. Even if the Sword Pool Palace was one of the top forces in the Xia country, they would not dare to offend them. One had to know that the people in the Inscription Alliance were all inscriptionists. Inscriptionists had a noble status. They were existences that countless forces respected as distinguished guests. Going against the Inscription Alliance was going against thousands of inscriptionists. Elder Song, you've always been impartial. Why are you speaking up for a sinner this time? Lin laughed. In front of Elder Song, he did not dare to go too far. Originally, this was your family's matter. It was indeed not appropriate for me to interfere. However, you indiscriminately tried to harm the deacon of the Inscription Alliance. I have no choice but to interfere in this matter. Deacon of the Inscription Alliance? Lin was stunned. Chapter 299. Not only Lin, but everyone was stunned. The Inscription Alliance was a more powerful existence than a 3-star sect. The deacons inside were equivalent to the elders of a 3-star sect. But the problem was Lin Xian really a deacon of the Inscription Alliance? Sorry, I usually keep a low profile and forgot to wear it. Lin Xian took out the silver inscription robe and a deacon token. A second-grade inscription master, a deacon token. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that what Elder Song said was true. Lin's face was gloomy, not knowing what to say. The Earth Fire Sect elder beside him also showed a difficult look. They had already jumped out. If they did not catch Lin Xian, then they would be slapping their own faces. But if they dared to make a move, the Inscription Alliance would be the first to come up and slap their faces. Just as they were in a dilemma, head elder Lin, who had been silent, finally spoke. Let's talk about Lin Xian's matter later. I think it's getting late. Let's start the assembly first. What head elder said is right. Nothing can delay the family assembly. Yes, let's start the assembly first. A group of people echoed. Lin and the others sat back with gloomy faces, their faces full of unwillingness. Father, are we just going to let him go like this? Lin transmitted. There's no need to have a conflict with the Myriad Treasure Tower and the Inscription Alliance for him. Let Feng kill him, head elder said lightly. If we cripple or kill him in the ring, I'm afraid no one can say anything. At that time, even Lin Zhang can't stop it. I got it. Lin nodded. Right. Since this boy is an inscription master, we have to guard against his soul force. Head elder transmitted. I have a soul defense treasure here. Give it to Feng later. Father is still thoughtful. Lin was delighted. Next, the Lin clan assembly began. Singing and dancing banquets came one after another. Everyone seemed to have forgotten the hostility just now. When these programs were all over, a huge ring appeared in the center of the square. Next, the family competition will be held. This time, the participants are all elites of the Lin clan. There are a total of 32 people. The final winner will enter the family ancestral land. Without further ado, the competition begins now. 32 geniuses of the Lin clan showed up. All of them were of the younger generation, and all of them had powerful auras. The person in the lead gave off a boundless oppressive feeling. He was like a sharp sword that could slice the sky apart. Look, that's Lin Feng. He is indeed very powerful. I can feel the sword chi on his body from so far away. So handsome, really handsome. The group of cultivators were all looking at Lin Feng with respect and awe. Eh. Apart from Lin Feng, there's another half-step harmonious spirit cultivator. The crowd noticed that there were two disciples beside Lin Feng. Their chi was also very strong. Every breath they took caused the surrounding chi to vibrate. It was obvious that they had entered the half-step harmonious spirit realm. Worthy of being called a top family. 3 young disciples have reached the harmonious spirit realm. Even the Earth Fire sect doesn't have this many geniuses. On the huge grandstand, Lin Xian casually glanced over and shook his head slightly. He knew the 2 disciples. They were from Lin Feng's group. Looking at their chi, it was obvious that they had just entered the half-step harmonious spirit realm. The chi around them was fluctuating because they couldn't fully control the energy in their body. Lin Xian was too lazy to pay attention to these people who couldn't even control their chi accurately. Someone has entered the harmonious spirit realm? Lin Xian glanced over and saw that there was a half-step harmonious spirit cultivator among the disciples below. It's Lin Yu. Lin Xian touched his chin. This girl belonged to the neutral faction. She used to have a good relationship with Lin Xian. Just as Lin Xian was observing the disciples below, a dignified voice sounded. Lin Xian, since you want to participate in the competition, why don't you go down? An elder behind Lin Xian shouted coldly. I only want to fight with Lin Feng. I'm not interested in the others. Lin Xian said indifferently. His words caused another uproar in the crowd. This Lin Xian is really arrogant. That's right. Who does he think he is? He wants to fight with brother Lin Feng. Looking at his chi, I'm afraid he's not even a half-step harmonious spirit cultivator. How can he be so arrogant? What do you know? He's just hiding his cultivation. Do you understand? All the disciples were arguing. They were just here to watch the show, so there were people who supported both sides. On the huge spectator stand, Lin Xian spoke to Elder Song in a low voice, completely ignoring the elder who was making a fuss. Forget it. Let's start, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. He didn't want to care about these things. He just wanted the competition to start as soon as possible. He really wanted to see the scene of Lin Xian being beaten to the ground. Just thinking about it made him excited. The competition continued. More than 30 disciples started to fight in order. Lin Feng went up to the grandstand. He glanced at Lin Xian with a trace of killing intent in his eyes. Feng here's a soul defense treasure. Take it. If you have the chance to kill Lin Xian, don't hesitate. Don't worry, Dad. I know what to do. Lin Feng's eyes were cold. The competition continued quickly. This kind of competition was considered one of the best in Great Xia, so the disciples around were excited. Among these people, there were 3 who were particularly outstanding. They were the half-step harmonious spirit cultivators, Lin Yihe, Lin Yang, and Lin Yu. The 3 of them had strong chi and were decisive in their attacks. They could defeat their opponents in a few moves. The 3 of them were strong enough to be in the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon ranking. Of course, compared to Lin Feng, they were still much weaker. After dozens of rounds, the 3 of them won. No one could beat them. Brother Lin Feng, Yu wants to learn from you, Lin Yu said. All right. Lin Feng's body flickered. When he appeared again, he was already on the stage. Yu has a new understanding of the returning wind-whisking willow sword. I hope Brother Lin Feng can give me some advice. Lin Yu's long sword danced in the air like a willow in the wind. The sword light was erratic. Lin Feng gave her some advice. Then, on the 10th move, he pinched the tip of the sword and flicked it. Lin Yu was pushed back. Thank you, Brother Lin Feng. Lin Yu walked down the stage thoughtfully. It seemed like she had a new understanding of the sword skill. Lin Xian had been watching the whole process. At this moment, he was still thinking about the different forms of the returning wind-whisking willow sword. The returning wind-whisking willow sword was also a special sword skill of the Sword Pool Palace. The sword moves were erratic, like a willow in the wind. It was strange and changeable. There was also a soft force in it. Lin Yu had only mastered the changeability of the sword skill, but she had not understood the soft force. Little White, go get me a willow branch. Lin Xian took the little white monkey out. Woo 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 woo, the little white monkey hummed twice and shook its body unwillingly. When it came back again, it was holding a green willow branch in its hand. Wow, what a cute monkey. Lin Xing, and Lin Yu's eyes lit up. They were fighting to hold the little white monkey. Lin Xian held the willow branch and kept swinging it. He was trying to understand the shape of the willow branch. At this moment, Lin Yihe and Lin Yang stood up. The two of them were arrogant and wanted to teach Lin Xian a lesson. Chapter 300. Lin Xian, get down here now. I will let you know the difference between us. You dare to challenge brother Lin Feng. You really don't know how to spell the word death. Both of them were clamoring, claiming that they would teach Lin Xian a lesson. Some people only say nice things, but when it comes to the real thing, they are scared. This kind of courage is not worthy of being a disciple of the Lin clan. Many disciples of the Lin clan joined in the clamor. Trying to goad me into action? Lin Xian laughed. This young master really likes that. Since you want to compete, no problem, I will play with you. I will go first. Lin Yang sneered. No need, come at me together. Lin Xian said indifferently, I don't want to waste time. Everyone was stunned. Many of them touched their ears. I didn't hear it wrong. Lin Xian wants to challenge two people at once. This is too crazy. Even Lin Feng has never done this before. Pretentious. He must be pretentious. He must know that the competition will not allow two people to fight at once. That's why he said that. Lin Rong and others sneered. These two are half-step harmonious spirit experts. Isn't Lin Xian a bit too arrogant? Elder Song was a bit worried. Second Master Lin also pulled Lin Xian and whispered, Don't get too excited. Be careful not to fall into their trap. Don't worry, second uncle. I don't put these two trash in my eyes. Hearing Lin Xian's words, Lin Yang and Lin Rong were even angrier. They couldn't wait to pounce on Lin Xian and beat him up. At this time, Lin Xian sneered. Since he has such a request, we will satisfy him. Lin Yang, Lin Yihe, both of you go together. This is the clan competition. You must go all out. Yes. Both of them were excited. Then they revealed a sinister smile. Brat, you are courting death. The surrounding cultivators were also stunned. They didn't think that it would really be a 1 versus 2 situation. Lin Rong and others clapped their hands and laughed. Haha, who asked you to show off? Now you are finished. In the distance, Lin Feng looked indifferent. He didn't pay attention to Lin Xian. From his point of view, Lin Xian had challenged the two of them by himself because he wanted to show off and prove himself in front of everyone. Only people without strength and confidence would do such a thing. And he had an earth-rank martial art. His strength was extraordinary, so he didn't need to use this kind of boring competition to set himself off. He did not put Lin Xian in his eyes at all. Lin Xian, come down. We brothers will teach you a good lesson. Lin Yang sneered. His black robe fluttering, Lin Xian floated down, drawing a perfect arc in the air before gently landing on the stage. I advise you to use your strongest martial arts, or you won't have a chance. Lin Yihe's body emitted a terrifying pressure. Lin Yang went to the side and pulled out the sword in his hand, forming a terrifying sword momentum. Brother Lin Feng doesn't need to do anything. I will cripple your cultivation. Lin Xian played with the willow twig in his hand and said casually, You talk too much. Let's get started. You're courting death. Both of them were infuriated. Their bodies moved at the same time. Their half-step harmonious spirit aura burst out and spread in all directions. Waves of air rolled, and strong winds blew, as if two volcanoes were erupting. How terrifying! The two of them together can even fight against a harmonious spirit warrior. I'm afraid that Lin Xian is in danger. Most people didn't think Lin Xian would win because he didn't look very imposing. He was even holding a willow branch in his hand. He didn't look like a competitor at all. To set the prairie ablaze starlight, swordplay, the two of them attacked from the front and back. Their sword chi was like a rainbow as it crashed down. Even a half-step harmonious spirit expert would be seriously injured and vomit blood. On the other hand, Lin Xian simply waved the willow branch in his hand, forming several sword circles around him. Returning wind brushes willow sword, gentle breeze blew, and the willow branches danced in the wind, surrounding him. Puff puff, two soft sounds rang out, like a sharp sword piercing through boiling water. The air vibrated slightly, like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. The two figures quickly retreated under the astonished gazes of the crowd. Finally, they fell heavily onto the arena. What? The crowd couldn't come back to their senses. The two arrogant men were now lying on the ground like dead dogs, vomiting blood. If they didn't know that there was a grudge between them, they would have thought that they were acting. On the huge grandstand, a group of elders frowned. They were all harmonious spirit experts, so they naturally knew what happened. Just a moment ago, the willow branch produced an invisible force that penetrated the two men's defense through the wind and hit their bodies, sending them flying. This guy, what a terrifying sword technique. Many elders took a deep breath. Lin Yu stared blankly at the figure on the arena. Her eyes were somewhat infatuated. This is the real returning wind-whisking willow sword. Second Master Lin also felt relieved. Lin Xian was much stronger than he imagined. In the distance, Lin frowned deeply. Defeating two half-step, harmonious spirit experts in one move. This kind of strength was enough to threaten Lin Feng. It's just a trick, Lin Feng said disdainfully. I will let him know that trash will always be trash. Lin Xian didn't have any joy after defeating Lin Yang and Lin Yu in one move. He looked at the grandstand and coldly shouted, Lin Feng, get down here and accept your death. Hua! The crowd was in an uproar. Lin Xian was the first person who dared to talk to Lin Feng like that. Now, everyone knew that Lin Feng was strong and had mastered an earth-rank martial art. If nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely become a peerless expert in the future. Although Lin Xian's performance was strong, compared to Lin Feng, there was still a big gap. After all, not everyone could master an earth-rank martial art in the legends. Lin Feng's face turned gloomy. You can only make your mouth feel good. Since you are ready to die, then I will fulfill your wish. Hearing this, most of the martial artists below the stage were excited. Lin Rong and the others raised their arms and cheered. Lin Feng was going to fight, and his opponent was Lin Xian, who had just shown his strength. This will definitely be a wonderful match. Many martial artists were looking forward to it. They had come here to see Lin Feng fight. With brother Lin Feng fighting, Lin Xian is dead for sure. Lin Yang and Lin Yu were full of resentment. They were very unwilling to be defeated by Lin Xian. If they could see Lin Xian lying on the ground like a dead dog, it would undoubtedly make their mood much better. Brother Xian, you can do it. Brother Xian is the best. Lin Xing, and Lin Yu both waved their little fists. Second Master Lin was also nervous. He was already prepared to deal with all kinds of situations. Although Lin Xian was very strong, his opponent was Lin Feng after all. Moreover, he had mastered an earth-rank martial art. His strength was even more terrifying. Although he hoped that Lin Xian could win, his subconscious told him that it was impossible. Not only him, but almost no one in the entire martial arts practice field was optimistic about Lin Xian. As long as Lin Feng used an earth-rank martial art, no one would be able to resist. Lin Feng came to the stage and looked down at Lin Xian. This time, I won't give you any chance. Put away your arrogance. In front of me, you are nothing. Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. If you kneel down and kowtow, I can consider letting you have 3 moves. Arrogant, too arrogant. Who was Lin Feng? He was a big shot of the first generation of Xia country's younger generation and in existence who had mastered a legendary earth-rank martial art. And Lin Xian actually wanted Lin Feng to kneel down and let him have 3 moves? The surrounding martial artists' mouths twitched. If nothing unexpected happened, this would be the most dreamy day of their lives. You will pay for your stupidity. Lin Feng released a terrifying aura. Chapter 301. A terrifying qi was emitted from Lin Feng's body, stirring the qi in the surroundings. A huge sword steel appeared above his head. It was engraved with sword marks and emitted a terrifying sword intent. Suppress. Lin Feng shouted. The sword steel fell from above, tearing the air apart. Qi rolled on both sides, forming an endless gale. This momentum was enough to kill a half-step harmonious spirit expert. Lin Feng didn't even move. He only opened his mouth and released such a terrifying qi. That kind of power had already surpassed the power of a half-step harmonious spirit cultivator. Even if it was compared to a real harmonious spirit cultivator, it wouldn't be much weaker. Worthy of being the #1 genius of Sword Lake Prefecture. Young Master Lin Feng will definitely be famous in Xia in the future. Many elders congratulated him. The sword's steel fell, forming a terrifying pressure that drowned Lin Xian. Many martial artists exclaimed. They were worried for Lin Xian. Don't tell me he's going to die in one move. This is too boring. Lin Rong and the others mocked. Just when they were mocking, a silver light suddenly flashed on the stage, followed by a violent lightning chi. The silver light covered Lin Xian's body, making him look like a thunder god. Looking at the sword steel above his head, Lin Xian sneered and threw out a punch. Boom! The lightning tore through the sky. The punch fiercely hit the huge sword steel, creating an earth-shattering sound. The whole martial arts arena trembled. Many martial artists felt dizzy. Some of the weaker ones fainted directly. People looked at the stage in horror and suddenly took a deep breath. Lin Xian's body emitted a silver light. His right fist turned into a silver dragon, twining around the sword steel. With a shout, the silver lightning rushed out, shattering the huge sword steel into countless pieces. On the huge stage, the elders looked dignified. Lin Xian's performance was completely out of their expectations. Being able to shatter Lin Feng's attack with one punch meant that he was at least a half-step harmonious spirit expert. However, this punch didn't have much spiritual energy. It didn't even move the chi in the air. It was completely relying on the strength of his body. This Lin Xian, is he a body cultivator? No matter what, if he can block Lin Feng's attack, he's definitely not simple. Two peerless geniuses have actually appeared in the sword pool manor at the same time. What heaven-defying luck! Many forces were envious and at the same time felt fortunate. Fortunately, the two of them were sworn enemies. Otherwise, the entire Great Xia country would belong to the Sword Pool Manor's Lin clan. The first elder looked at Lin Xian with killing intent in his eyes. Beside him, Lin's face was also gloomy. He had already decided that regardless of the outcome, he would eliminate Lin Xian. On the fighting stage, Lin Feng's facial expression was ice-cold. He was releasing an extremely sharp chi which made the ground around him crack. "Show me what you've got," Lin Xian shouted. "Interesting. I hope you can make me get serious." Lin Feng's eyes were filled with red sword lights. Sword steel great palm. Lin Feng waved his hand and the chi around him started to condense into a gigantic sword. Compared to the last time, this sword steel was even more solid. Black clouds rolled on top of it, emitting an astonishing aura. "Let's see how hard your body is." Lin Feng took a step forward and the gigantic sword steel crashed down. The terrifying pressure was like the weight of Mount Tai, causing the entire sky to tremble. Seal of mountains and rivers. Lin Xian stretched out both of his palms. A black mountain condensed in his left hand, and a dazzling silver river appeared in his right hand. The clouds in the sky trembled as if they were boiling. The black mountain peak filled the sky, emitting a dazzling silver light. Boom! The blood-red sword steel and the silver river collided, causing a violent explosion in the sky above the fighting stage. The dazzling energy waves spread in all directions, blowing everything in the surroundings away. The cultivators around the fighting stage were blown away, many of them groaning in pain. "Activate the defensive formation," the first elder shouted coldly. The ground trembled as the defensive formation was activated, forming a 1,000-meter-wide fighting stage. It not only ensured the safety of the crowd, but also satisfied the needs of the battle. Only then did the crowd relax and watch the battle. A terrifying energy exploded. Lin Xian and Lin Feng were both blown away. Lin Xian's body was covered with silver lightning marks, looking incomparably mysterious. Lin Feng also used his spiritual energy to form a blood-red armor. His entire body was filled with powerful energy. Seal of sun and moon. Lin Xian's body swayed. The sun and moon condensed in his hands emitted dazzling light as he quickly rushed forward. The sun and moon were in the sky. One side was unbearably hot while the other side was as cold as ice. The two sides merged and bombarded Lin Feng. Lin Feng's black hair fluttered in the wind. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the sun and moon in the sky. His 5 fingers were like 5 long swords. A blood-red sword chi rushed out, as thick as a mountain, piercing through the sky. Boom! Boom, boom. 5-sword chi condensed into a red maple sword intent. Its power was terrifying as it pierced through the sun and moon in the sky. However, Lin Xian's attack was not just for show. The ice and fire energy of the seal of sun and moon also attacked Lin Feng's palm. Lin Feng's face was expressionless. His eyes were filled with sword chi. His arms swayed, and the sun and moon in the sky smashed towards Lin Xian. Silver ripples. Silver lightning twined around Lin Xian's palm and enveloped it, forming a strange energy wave. A terrifying power formed and rushed into the sky like a rainbow. In the sky, the 5-sword chi formed a huge palm, and a hole the size of a house appeared. After the attack, Lin Xian took the initiative to move forward. Like a silver lightning, his speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Lin Feng. The two of them started to fight in close quarters. The air rumbled and thunder surged. The two of them changed positions and continuously exchanged blows. Each of their attacks contained a terrifying power. Boom, boom. The two of them intertwined their palms and bombarded each other. Boom, boom, boom. The two of them quickly retreated. Countless deep holes appeared in the ground. The silver lightning mark on Lin Xian's chest spread to both sides. The blood-red energy collided and mercilessly tore apart the lightning mark. Fortunately, the silver lightning body was abnormally strong. Lin Xian had also consumed the great earth elixir, which made his body even stronger. In the end, the blood-red light disappeared. It didn't completely tear apart the silver lightning mark. The silver lightning in front of Lin Xian's chest surged and once again formed a solid defense, enveloping him. On the other side, Lin Feng's armor was broken. His chest was charred black, and there was still blood mixed in. In terms of physical strength, he still couldn't compare to Lin Xian. What? Lin Feng was actually injured? That's impossible, right? Is Lin Xian really that powerful? The crowd discussed spiritedly. They hadn't expected this result at all. Damn it, he was actually able to injure little Feng. Lin Feng's face was gloomy. The opponent is a body-refining cultivator. Using physical strength against him is not a wise choice. The great elder slowly said, I hope little Feng can understand. You were actually able to injure me. It seems like I really underestimated you. Lin Feng's eyes flashed and a terrifying sword energy suddenly burst out. Behind him, a huge blood-red sword shadow appeared. It was like a maple leaf, illusory and ethereal. Sword energy, it's the red maple sword energy. It seems like Lin Feng is going to be serious. The cultivators below trembled and looked at the blood-red sword shadow in fear. Chapter 302. Feng actually used sword intent. It seems like there's no suspense. Lin smiled in relief. He knew that Lin Feng's sword intent had already reached the peak of 40%. Even a harmonious spirit realm cultivator might not be able to achieve such an achievement. What a sharp sword intent. Brother Lin has a good son. A group of people congratulated. Second Master Lin was secretly anxious. He cautiously looked at the arena and kept praying in his heart, hoping that Lin Xian would be fine. A terrifying sword intent enveloped the surroundings, suppressing everyone to the point that they couldn't breathe. Sword intent? Lin Xian smiled. Daring to compete with him in sword intent, he was really courting death. His eyes focused, and the dragon sword intent in his body vibrated. Then, a deep dragon roar sounded. Behind Lin Xian, a huge sword shadow also appeared, instantly breaking through the blood-red aura. This aura was berserk, restless, and insufferably arrogant. It was even stronger than Lin Feng's red maple sword intent. How is this possible? What kind of sword intent is that? It's so terrifying. Everyone was stunned and looked at the sky in horror. Originally, they didn't think highly of Lin Xian, but unexpectedly, he also had sword intent, and this sword intent was even stronger. Impossible. How can this kid have such a strong sword intent? Lin couldn't sit still and clenched his fists tightly. Calm down, the great elder coldly shouted. Although the enemy is very strong, don't forget Feng Er's trump card. Hearing this, Lin calmed down, but the killing intent in his eyes became even thicker. Lin Feng, In front of me, you're just a joke. Lin Xian sneered. Use your Earth-rank martial art, or else you won't have a chance. On the opposite side, Lin Xian's face darkened and his body trembled slightly. He was suppressed by Lin Xian twice in a row, and this was unacceptable to the proud him. His eyes were filled with killing intent, and the huge red sword behind him slowly rotated. You want to see an Earth-rank martial art? As you wish. The long sword swayed, and the wind and clouds in all directions changed, as if there were countless blood-red long swords piercing through the void. Everyone was far away and was protected by the defensive array, but they could still feel the terrifying killing intent. Many people had fine sword marks on their bodies. This is an Earth-rank martial art? How terrifying. Even the Swordpool Mansion's defensive grand array is unable to block it. It's too terrifying. Just a single strand of aura is enough to make me unable to breathe. This level of martial art can even kill a harmonious spirit realm warrior. Haha, Lin Xian is dead for sure. So what if his sword intent is strong? So what if his body is unparalleled? So what? In front of an Earth-rank martial technique, everything will be annihilated. Lin Xian is dead. Brother Lin Feng is the most dazzling genius of Sword Lake Palace. Second Master Lin and the others had a drastic change in expression. It was also their first time seeing an Earth-rank martial art, and the aura emitted from the front made them palpitate. Elder Song's eyes flickered as all the muscles in his body tensed up. Lin Zhang, it was for his own good that we didn't allow Lin Xian to participate in the competition, but you didn't listen. If this sword goes down, I'm afraid not even bones will remain. Lin said slowly. Second Master Lin didn't say anything, but his hands were clenched so tightly that creaking sounds could be heard. The sword chi in the surroundings became denser and denser, as if a peerless weapon had been unsheathed, bringing with it an aura that could destroy everything. This is an Earth-rank martial art? It is indeed very strong. Lin Xian felt the murderous aura in the surroundings, and his expression became serious. But if you want to kill me, this is still not enough. Lin Xian's voice was like thunder, spreading in all directions. Lin Feng, I will let you know that even if you have an Earth-rank martial art, you are still a joke in front of me. As he finished speaking, he took out the Autumn Scar sword and drew a strange trajectory in the air. The spirit chi in the surroundings gathered, and the wind whistled. A gigantic sword appeared in the sky, oppressing all directions. Oh my God, what kind of martial art is this? I can't breathe. Could it be an Earth-rank martial art? It is so terrifying. Why do I feel that it is even more terrifying than an Earth-rank martial art? The surrounding warriors seemed to be in an uproar, and they were extremely excited. This was a battle between geniuses, a battle between dragons and tigers. On the huge grandstand, all the elders' expressions changed. At this moment, they were all looking at the sky, where the gigantic sword was becoming more and more solid. It has the same power as an Earth-rank martial art. Could it be another one? This kid has a great opportunity. The Lin clan is incredible. Lin Xian looked at the gigantic sword in the sky, and he was about to go crazy. Even in his dreams, he would never have thought that Lin Xian would also have an Earth-rank martial art. Damn it, this is impossible. The head elder's face turned black, and a murderous aura was emitted from his body. In front of him, the two huge auras collided, and each collision made the heaven and earth tremble. Lin Xian's expression was ferocious, and he was extremely irritated. Lin Xian was actually able to resist his Earth-rank martial art. This made him feel like he was dreaming. Impossible. 10 directions sword remnant light. Extinguish. In all directions, the sky and the earth. Everything was covered by the blood-red sword chi, and the entire training ground seemed to have turned into hell. Every sword aura was capable of splitting mountains and piercing through the earth. These sword auras gathered together and slashed towards Lin Xian. Sword of gale and lightning, sword of mountains and rivers. The gigantic sword slashed down, and the whole sky was filled with violent wind and lightning. As the sword light flashed, the sky seemed to be torn apart, and a black storm appeared. Rumble. The gigantic sword and the blood-red sword chi collided, and a destructive collision occurred. The 1,000-meter-long arena was covered by the blood-red light, and the terrifying energy collided with the defensive formation. Ka. The defensive formation made a sound, as if it was about to collapse. Maintain the formation, the third elder shouted. Dozens of elders attacked together, releasing a vast amount of spiritual energy and constantly changing the formation of the defensive formation. The terrifying storm was still going on, and the elders were sweating profusely, and their bodies were trembling. In the end, they managed to maintain the formation. Phew! Everyone let out a sigh of relief, as if they had been reborn after a disaster. If the formation was broken, the terrifying storm would definitely devour everyone, and at that time, perhaps only the harmonious spirit realm warriors would be able to escape. Outside the defensive formation, the violent energy gradually disappeared, and everyone's hearts were in their mouths. Everyone stretched their necks, trying to see the situation inside. Would Lin Xian amaze the world with a single brilliant feat? Or would Lin Feng remain undefeated? This was the question that everyone was concerned about. The storm dispersed, and the dust in the sky gradually settled down, and the scene on the arena slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The first thing that came into view was the miserable ground, with thousands of ravines, and all of them were blood-red sword marks. Each of them was 100 meters long, and the bottom couldn't be seen. There was a terrifying crack in the center, which was more than 1,000 meters long, splitting the ground into two halves, and there were still remnants of the wind and thunder chi in the crack. Two silhouettes stood on the ground, facing each other. The silver light on Lin Xian's body was dim, and many parts of his body were broken. The terrifying sword marks had turned his flesh, and blood was dripping from his wounds. In the distance, Lin Xian's hair was disheveled, and he looked even worse than Lin Xian. He didn't have a strong body like Lin Xian, and his top profound level armor had been split open, and there were still remnants of the wind and thunder chi in many parts of his body. There was also a terrifying sword mark on his chest, which exposed his white bones and internal organs. Puff! Lightning exploded on Lin Feng's body, and his injuries became more serious. His body swayed, and he vomited blood. He half knelt on the ground, using his long sword to support his body. Chapter 303. Lin Feng lost. Most people didn't expect this result at all. The whole place was eerily quiet. Only the sound of blood dripping could be heard. Ha. Lin Feng suddenly laughed and looked up at the sky. Lin Xian, I really underestimated you. I don't know what kind of luck you have in these 2 years. You're better than me in body refining, sword intent, and martial arts. But do you think you can win like this? I was saving this move for the True Dragon competition, but it's good. I'll let you know the real difference between us. You can die in peace. Lin Xian frowned. He had the feeling that Lin Feng wasn't crazy and talking nonsense. No way. Does Lin Feng have another trump card? He even used his Earth-rank martial arts. Could it be that he has more powerful moves? The crowd was stunned. They couldn't understand. The crowd didn't think about it for long. They were shocked. Lin Feng slowly stood up and made a strange seal. A maple leaf mark appeared between his eyebrows. Seal, break. With a shout, the maple leaf mark emitted a blood-red light. The Ling Qi in the surroundings gathered and entered his body. Under the crowd's shocked gaze, Lin Feng's body gradually rose into the air and floated in the air. Air treading. This was a skill that only harmonious spirit realm cultivators could use. Lin Feng had broken through to the harmonious spirit realm. Oh my god, he's only in his 20s. Such a young harmonious spirit realm cultivator. What a monster. The whole martial arts arena was boiling. Lin Feng was like a huge mountain, pressing down on everyone's hearts. You're still a worm if you don't break through to the harmonious spirit realm. Now, I can kill you with one hand, said Lin Feng looking down at Lin Xian from above. Lin Xian was also shocked. No wonder Lin Feng was his opponent. He was a genius. However, Lin Xian wasn't afraid. No matter what Lin Feng's cultivation level was, he would crush him under his feet. So what if you're a harmonious spirit realm cultivator? It's not like I haven't killed one before. Lin Xian looked like a demon. The crowd was trembling and their minds went blank. This guy said that he had killed a harmonious spirit warrior before. Is he all right? Even if you want to brag, you shouldn't brag like this, right? No one believed him. In fact, they couldn't be blamed. Even though Lin Xian was strong, he was only a half-step harmonious spirit realm expert. In their hearts, a harmonious spirit realm expert was like a god. "Humph, you're about to die, and you're still so stubborn," said Lin Feng while smiling coldly. He didn't believe such nonsense. With a flip of his palm, the spiritual energy in the surroundings began to vibrate, forming a mountain-like palm that struck downward. This strike felt as though a real mountain was crashing down on Zhangxian. It was more than twice as powerful as before. Break! Lin Xian's body surged with lightning, connecting heaven and earth. He punched out, and the lightning in the sky formed a silver lightning dragon that soared into the sky. Boom! The silver dragon claw tore apart the huge mountain peak. Like I said, you are not the first harmonious spirit realm warrior that I have killed, and you will not be the last. Dragon counterstep. Lin Xian's figure flickered as he took several steps forward. The air vibrated, like water ripples, and waves of ripples appeared. Lin Xian's body soared into the sky as if he was climbing the stairs to heaven. He quickly rushed towards Lin Feng, who was in the sky. Oh my God! What kind of footwork is that? He can actually walk in the air. He actually took the initiative to rush towards Lin Feng. Is he not afraid of death? What a terrifying chi! Could it be that Lin Xian has really killed a harmonious spirit realm expert? This thought was like a nightmare, deeply imprinted in everyone's mind and couldn't be erased. Second Master Lin's eyes were filled with excitement as he looked at the silver dragon that was rising into the sky. Lin Xian had given him too many surprises. Every impossible situation had happened to him. At this rate, defeating Lin Feng was no longer a dream. Big brother, did you see that? Little Xian is as mighty as you were in the past. In the distance, Lin and the great elders' faces were as black as the bottom of a pot. Lin Xian was like their nemesis, slapping their faces again and again. That little bastard. We can't let him live. Lin was going crazy. Capture him, and everything he has will be ours. The great elder smiled evilly. Body refining techniques, earth-level martial arts, and amazing footwork. If we have these, who can stop us? Little Feng will also become a peerless genius and step onto a bigger stage to compete for the true dragon ranking list. At that time, our Sword Lake Palace will become the overlord of Tiannan region. While the great elder was thinking about the future, Lin Xian had already arrived in front of Lin Feng. Annihilation. Lin Feng had a cold smile on the corner of his mouth. His sword had the power to split mountains and rivers. Dragon counterstep, 7 steps. Lin Xian's body flickered and his speed increased again. At the same time, he took a step forward and his silver dragon claw grabbed towards Lin Feng. Boom! Lin Feng's sword chi rushed out and collided with the silver dragon claw, creating a metallic sound. Red maple sword technique. Lin Feng shouted and waved his long sword. His sword chi was like a huge maple leaf, carrying a terrifying sword intent and spiritual chi in the surroundings as it cut towards Lin Xian. The sky was filled with red sword chi, and everything within 100 meters was covered. Oh no, Lin Xian can't stay in the air for too long. He's in danger, Long Yidao exclaimed. Indeed, Lin Feng had seen through this, so he had chosen to use a large area sword attack. As long as Lin Xian lost his balance, he would be a human target in the air. At that time, he would only be beaten up. However, he had underestimated the power of the dragon counterstep. Dragon counterstep, 7 steps. Facing the dense sword chi, Lin Xian naturally knew what Lin Feng was planning. His body flickered and shuttled back and forth in the terrifying sword chi. Although it was very dangerous, he could safely avoid the attack every time. Boom! Under his feet, the silver dragon claw appeared again and fiercely attacked Lin Feng. Lin Xian quickly stepped forward like a thunderbolt, his momentum vast and mighty. The air trembled and the earth rumbled. It was as if there was a strange rhythm that made everyone sink into it. The silver dragon claw above Lin Feng's head made him go crazy. How could he allow Lin Xian to step on his head? With a swing of his sword, A huge, cross-shaped sword qi appeared in the air with a strange suction force, enveloping Lin Xian. At the same time, the surrounding spiritual qi gathered and formed the illusion of a huge tree. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Xian continued to step forward. Under his feet, the illusion of a real dragon gradually appeared. The huge, cross-shaped sword qi could kill countless half-step, harmonious spirit experts. Even some weak harmonious spirit experts wouldn't dare to face it directly. However, this kind of terrifying attack quickly turned into a rain of light fragments under the power of the dragon counterstep, disappearing in the air. Fifth step, the real dragon under his feet condensed and bombarded the huge tree shadow. Rumble. The air exploded and countless clouds rolled. The sky looked like it was being torn apart. The dragon claw disappeared, and the huge tree shadow also dimmed. However, the sixth step was coming. With a dragon roar, the silver dragon claw covered the sky as if it could tear everything apart. Boom, boom. The huge tree shadow was torn apart. Lin Feng slashed with his sword and sent Lin Xian flying. The silver lightning mark was also torn apart and blood splattered everywhere. The attack of a harmonious spirit expert was too terrifying. Moreover, Lin Feng wasn't like Elder Lu, who was heavily injured. Every time he attacked, he used his full strength. Lin Xian's long life chant was madly circulating in his body. At the same time, he decisively swallowed a drop of great earth spirit liquid. The black cloak behind him fluttered, and he turned into a black afterimage. The silver dragon under his feet roared. The seventh step was coming. Chapter 304. Lin Xian's body was bleeding profusely, but he still endured the pain and performed the seventh step. This step was like the finishing touch. The silver dragon under his feet came to life. The dragon roared as if it was real. Its roar shook the whole area. The gigantic silver dragon rushed towards Lin Feng. The red maple tree shook. The maple leaves turned into thousands of blood-red swords and pierced the sky. Puff, puff, puff. In a flash, the silver lightning dragon was pierced by the countless blood-red swords. The red maple sword intent stirred and tried to tear it apart. Roar. The dragon roared. Lin Xian's dragon sword intent gushed out from his body and merged with the silver dragon under his feet. The air trembled as if the sky was about to collapse. The silver dragon seemed to have a soul. Sword light flashed in its eyes. The dragon claw rushed forward, shaking the wind and clouds. The silver dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it collided with the red maple tree. Crack, crack, crack. Like a mirror, the huge maple tree cracked. The silver dragon claw hit Lin Feng and sent him flying. Boom. Lin Feng crashed into the ground. Suddenly, the whole arena shook violently as if there was an earthquake. When the smoke disappeared, a deep hole appeared on the ground as if a meteorite had hit it. Ah! In the deep hole, Lin Feng raised his head and roared. Little bastard, I'm going to kill you. Lin Xian landed on the ground and groaned. Harmonious spirit realm is only a... Let's fight. I'll let you know how powerful harmonious spirit realm is. 10 directions, sword remnant light. Within 1,000 meters, spiritual energy violently fluctuated. 108,000 blood-colored swords formed in the air, bringing with them a terrifying, baleful aura that struck fear into anyone who looked at them. Even a harmonious spirit realm warrior would not be able to withstand this kind of chi. Gale lightning sword, mountain break sword. Lin Xian waved his sword and formed the heavenly sword again. It's useless. This attack is 3 times stronger than before. You won't be able to withstand it. Lin Feng sneered. 108,000 blood-red swords clashed with the heavenly sword. A terrifying black hole appeared in the sky. In a flash, the heavenly sword in the sky dimmed, as if it could disappear at any time. Haha, die. Lin Feng laughed loudly and controlled his 108,000 swords to attack Lin Xian. The void trembled and emitted a sharp whistling sound. Lin Xian felt the air around him solidify, and he was unable to move. Seeing the sky full of blood swords about to pierce through Lin Xian, Frost Fairy and the others closed their eyes, not daring to watch. On the huge spectator stand, Second Master Lin's eyes were bloodshot and cracked as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. Xian'er, his body swayed, and he was about to rush forward. At this moment, a figure appeared out of thin air and stopped him. Lin Zheng, during the competition, no one is allowed to interfere. Lin sneered. Get lost. Second Master Lin slashed out with his sword, forming a sword chi that was hundreds of meters long. Boom. Lin's palms swayed, forming a hexagonal sword screen in front of him. It blossomed with light and blocked the fast sword chi. At this moment, the blood-red sword chi that filled the sky had already enveloped Lin Xian. Little Xian, surrender now? Second Master Lin roared. His voice was like thunder, spreading in all directions. Lin Xian was surrounded by the 10-direction remnant light swords. His expression was abnormally solemn. Do you want to admit defeat? He heard Second Master Lin's roar. He recalled how he had walked step by step from the Black Heaven sect of Yun State. He had never frowned despite the hardships and difficulties, all for the sake of defeating Lin Feng when he returned to his family one day. Therefore, he would not admit defeat. His eyes emitted a shocking light as Lin Xian raised his sword intent to the extreme. At the same time, he crazily circulated his spiritual energy, and the sword in his hand drew a strange arc once again. No, it's too difficult for you to use the second sword now, Lord Alcohol exclaimed. However, the light in Lin Xian's eyes grew brighter and brighter. His sword danced as a deep voice rang out. Gale Lightning Sword, Dual Sword Star Annihilation. In the sky, a divine sword phantom condensed beside the Tsang family's huge sword once again. This sword's aura was even more powerful than before. The surrounding spiritual energy gathered crazily, forming simple inscriptions on the sword that emitted a mysterious aura. The two swords merged and crushed the surroundings, forcefully tearing apart the 10-direction remnant light swords. What? There's actually another sword. Heavens, what kind of martial art is this? It's too terrifying. The smile on Lin Feng's face disappeared and was replaced by a frenzied look. Impossible. How can it condense another sword phantom? Furthermore, its aura is even more terrifying than my 10-direction remnant light swords. I don't believe it. Block it for me. Lin Feng circulated the spiritual energy in the surroundings, increasing the might of the 10-direction remnant light swords. The two swords in the sky were blocked, and the two confronted each other in the sky. At this moment, Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood, his body on the verge of collapsing. The two swords in the sky became illusory once again, barely blocking the 10-direction remnant light swords. Ha 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 ha, using this martial art must have consumed a lot of spiritual energy, right? Lin Feng sneered. I have the spiritual energy in the surroundings. I can exhaust you to death. He raised his head and laughed, his face filled with insolence. Everyone sighed slightly. Lin Xian had already shocked the world with his half-step harmonious spirit cultivation, but it was still too difficult for him to defeat a harmonious spirit cultivator. Lin Xian was indeed lacking in spiritual energy. The inheritance of martial arts consumed too much spiritual energy, and he was only a half-step harmonious spirit cultivator, so he couldn't completely mobilize the spiritual energy in the surroundings. It was already very difficult for him to maintain this state. Lin Feng obviously wouldn't let go of the opportunity to suppress him. With a wave of his hand, the 10-direction remnant light swords became even sharper. Xiao Xuanzi, don't persist any longer. Your body won't be able to take it. Lord Alcohol's voice was heavy. I can help you mobilize the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. No need. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and said, I want to defeat him alone. Cracks appeared on the silver lightning marks on his body. If he continued to persist, his body would probably completely shatter. However, Lin Xian didn't give up. His eyes were emitting an astonishing light. His eyes were unyielding, stubborn, and confident. He never thought that he was inferior to Lin Feng, and reality proved that his aptitude wasn't inferior to anyone. So what if I don't have any spiritual energy? As long as I have a sword in my hand, it's enough. Lin Xian gripped his long sword tightly as the great dragon sword intent in his body resonated, as if it was an excited roar that spread in all directions. A swordsman should have a sharp edge. A swordsman should be strong and unyielding. At this moment, Lin Xian comprehended the true meaning of sword intent. The great dragon sword intent seemed to come alive, turning into a huge dragon that surrounded his body. Divine dragon protection? Heavens, what kind of move is this? Everyone went crazy. Lin Xian's aura was too strong. It was like a divine sword had been unsheathed. Nothing could resist him. Lin Feng's red maple sword intent trembled, and Lin Feng himself also felt a sense of fear. Impossible. I'm a harmonious spirit cultivator. How can I be afraid of him? Lin Feng roared as 108,000 swords fell at the same time. Slash. Lin Xian took a step forward and slashed down with his longsword. The two gigantic swords in the sky seemed to have a sword soul as they became corporeal once again. Rumble. The entire space trembled and rumbled as the gigantic swords slashed down, tearing the sky and earth apart. The blood-red sword chi that filled the sky turned into blood-red fragments under such power and exploded. Lin Feng's figure was also submerged under the terrifying sword shadows. Chapter 305. The terrifying energy waves made the surrounding cultivators tremble. In front of such power, they were as weak as ants. They couldn't resist at all. Even the elders on the viewing platform were shocked. The two gigantic swords in the sky were enough to threaten them. Lin Lin and the Great Elder were extremely nervous as they stared at the scene in front of them. Not good. The Great Elder's face turned black, as if he had seen something terrifying. What's wrong? Could it be that Lin Feng? Lin Lin didn't dare to think further. Humph. The Great Elder humphed and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, a strong wind appeared in front of them. A terrifying force emerged and tore apart the red sword chi. Great Elder Lin is surprisingly going to attack. Could it be that Lin Feng lost? Thought the elders when they sensed the terrifying chi in the air. They were astonished. They were all harmonious spirit cultivators, and the Great Elder was a spirit transformation cultivator. He was one level higher than them. The chi that leaked out from his body was enough to frighten them. Second Master Lin frowned as he looked at First Elder's figure. If the Great Elder wanted to stop them, they couldn't do anything. After all, he was a spirit transformation cultivator. His strength was outrageous. Fortunately, the clan leader was still famous. Otherwise, the Great Elder would have already killed them. In the sky, it was as if a pair of invisible hands had torn the violent energy into two halves, revealing the figure inside. The crowd looked over and gasped in surprise. There were terrifying sword wounds on Lin Feng's body. He had almost been cut in half. His left arm had been cut off and blood was gushing out. On the opposite side, Lin Xian was holding a broken sword. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He could fall down at any moment. He had used a martial skill that surpassed the limits of his body. He had suffered a serious internal injury. Fortunately, he had taken the Great Earth Essence in advance. Otherwise, he would have been crippled. However, compared to Lin Feng, he was much better. The crowd was stunned. Lin Feng had used the strength of a harmonious spirit cultivator and an earth-level martial skill. Even the older generation of harmonious spirit cultivators wouldn't have been able to block his attack. However, he had lost. Not only was he seriously injured, but he had also lost an arm. If he didn't have a sacred medicine, he wouldn't be able to reattach his arm. No. Lin Lin looked up to the sky and roared. His eyes were bloodshot. Lin Feng was his only hope. If nothing unexpected happened, he would become an overlord in the future. He could also rely on his son's strength to increase his status. But now, Lin Feng had lost an arm and his body had almost been cut in half. Even if he recovered in the future, his strength would be greatly reduced. Besides, the most important thing was that Lin Feng could become a demon in his heart. The First Elder's face darkened as an endless amount of killing intent emanated from his body. He condensed a sky full of sword chi that pierced in all directions. The entire grandstand was pierced into a sieve. All the elders retreated in fear. The attack of a spirit transformation realm martial artist was not something they could resist. The terrifying pressure enveloped Lin Xian, causing his body to sway and vomit blood. Ha ha ha. Lin Xian laughed loudly, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. The young one can't beat me, so the old one came out to bully me. How capable. Lin Xian gritted his teeth. Make your move, I'll take it. Humph, little trash. You dare to talk back to me? The great elder roared angrily. The aura on his body grew even stronger. Trash? Lin Xian's body was bleeding from the pressure, but he was still laughing madly. If I'm trash, then what is Lin Feng? Top quality trash? What are you, old trash? Everyone's hearts were beating wildly. Lin Xian actually dared to talk to the great elder like that. That was a spirit transformation realm martial artist. Lin Feng had just regained some consciousness when he heard Lin Xian's ridicule. He immediately vomited blood and fainted again. Little bastard, I'll kill you. Seeing Lin Feng's miserable state, the great elder couldn't bear it anymore. He pointed his finger at Lin Xian. Like a sharp swordlight, he charged at Lin Xian. Lin Xian had suffered severe internal injuries and couldn't move at all. If it was a normal person, they would have already fainted. It was only because of his strong willpower that he was able to maintain a clear mind. However, this didn't mean that he could dodge the attack of a spirit transformation realm martial artist. Lin Xian's dragon sword intent condensed and formed a divine dragon around his body. His eyes were filled with madness. No. In the distance, Second Master Lin rushed over and slashed out 100-meter-long sword Qi, trying to save Lin Xian. Humph. The great elder didn't turn his head. He waved his hand and smashed the thick sword Qi. He even sent Second Master Lin flying. The sword light was like lightning, and it was about to pierce through Lin Xian. The giant dragon phantom on Lin Xian's body roared to the sky. At this time, the surrounding air trembled violently. The spiritual energy in the sky condensed into a house-sized shield in front of him. Immediately afterward, there was a shocking roar. Who dares to touch my grandson? The voice was like thunder, knocking everyone to the ground. Countless people looked around in horror. The great elder's face was gloomy. He suddenly turned his head. His gaze was like a sword, dozens of meters long. Lin Quan, you are getting more and more shameless. You dare to attack my grandson. The voice was full of murderous intent. A terrifying scene formed behind the great elder. He roared with a trembling voice, Lin Yuan, you came out. Whoosh! A figure crossed the sky and landed quickly. The wind on his body blew the surrounding rocks away. It was a gray-haired old man. He was tall and powerful, with an oppressive aura. He was the patriarch of the Lin clan, Lin Yuan. Grandpa! Lin Xian shouted excitedly. Good grandson. You fought a beautiful battle, Lin Yuan said with a smile. Father, you can't let them hurt Xian. Second Master Lin shouted in the distance. Yes. The old man nodded and protected Lin Xian by his side. He said in a clear voice, Lin Xian defeated Lin Feng. Everyone saw it with their own eyes. Do you still want to deny it? As the patriarch, I announce that the first person in this family meeting is Lin Xian. The loud voice spread in all directions, as if it was announcing to the world. It was believed that in a few days, Lin Xian's name would be known throughout the Great Xia. The great elder felt the aura on Lin Yuan's body, but his heart was uncertain. The old man's aura is strong. In the end, he snorted coldly. This matter will not end like this. After that, he quickly left with Lin Feng, who was seriously injured and unconscious. The arrival of the patriarch, Lin Yuan, once again made a shocking turn of events. Lin Xian defeated Lin Feng and became the first person in the younger generation of the Sword Lake Mansion. He also obtained a valuable opportunity to enter the ancestral land of the family. The Lin clan meeting is held once every 10 years, and only one person can enter the ancestral land of the family each time. That is the forbidden area of the Sword Lake Mansion. Being able to enter means that the person is likely to become the heir of the Sword Lake Mansion. Under the envious eyes of everyone, Lin Xian was taken by Second Master Lin to recuperate. After that, the Lin family once again arranged a banquet for everyone to enjoy. After 3 days, everyone gradually left. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. Lin Xian had the earth spirit liquid, coupled with the magical effect of the secret art of long life. He quickly recovered. On the same day, Lin Yuan summoned Lin Xian and Second Master Lin. Grandpa. Lin Xian saw the old man, and his eyes were moist. Well, Xianer, now is not the time to enjoy. The old man said in a deep voice, the matter is urgent. Listen carefully. Chapter 306. The atmosphere in the room turned solemn because of the old man's expression. Lin Xian looked expectant, not knowing what the old man was going to say. Xianer, you have to take care of what happens next. Lin Yuan said solemnly. First, you have to enter the ancestral land as soon as possible. I can't hold on for too long. Second, I feel that there is a need to explain things to you regarding your parents. Third, leave China as soon as possible after coming out of the ancestral land. These three things were like a sudden clap of thunder that made him dizzy. Lin Xian was in a daze. He had countless questions in his heart that he wanted to ask. The old man sighed and continued, This is an incarnation of mine. I can't stay in the outside world for long. I'm afraid that Lin Quan and the rest will notice. Incarnation? Lin Xian was puzzled. Grandpa, you haven't come out of seclusion yet? Sigh, it's not that easy. The higher the cultivation level, the harder it is to break through. The old man shook his head slightly. Now that my true body has reached a critical juncture, I can't come out at all. As for your father, I don't believe that he's dead. Facts have proven that he's not dead. Some time ago, your mother was wandering around the ancestral land. She seemed to have discovered something and hurriedly left Sword Pool Manor, saying that she was going to find your father. What? My father isn't dead? My mother went to find him. Lin Xian was stunned. This news was too shocking for him. Ever since he came into contact with Lord Alcohol, he didn't believe that his father was dead. Now that he had received the news, Lin Xian was so excited that he shed tears. Men don't cry easily, but Lin Xian couldn't control himself when it came to his parents. Where did they go? There's a letter here. It was left by your mother. Second Master Lin took out an envelope. Lin Xian quickly opened it, and then he gradually frowned. He didn't recognize any of the names on it. There was even a Baiqing continent among them. However, the continent they were on was called the Lingwu continent. Could it be that there's another continent outside the Lingwu continent? Lin Xian couldn't help but guess. Lord Alcohol, do you know about the Baiqing continent? He placed his hopes on Lord Alcohol. I have some impression of it, but I can't remember it clearly. Lord Alcohol sighed. I need some time. Perhaps I can recall it. Lin Xian nodded. He didn't expect to find his parents so quickly. However, having a goal and hope was better than nothing. By the way, Lord Alcohol, my grandfather is in seclusion. Can you help him? With his talent, breaking through to the spirit channeling realm will be extremely difficult, Lord Alcohol said in a deep voice. However, since he's your grandfather, I'll do my best to help him. With that said, Lord Alcohol sent Lin Xian some information. If I copy this into the Jade Slip, it might be able to help him. Lin Xian realized that what Lord Alcohol gave him were all things related to breakthroughs. These were extremely precious to warriors. He took out a blank Jade Slip, copied all the information, and handed it to the old man. Grandfather, I obtained a Jade Slip when I was outside. Take a look and see if it's of any help. The old man took the Jade Slip. He didn't have much hope. After all, no one in China could help him break through to the spirit channeling realm. However, when he saw the information in the Jade Slip, he jumped up. Xianer, where did you get this? The old man's face was filled with excitement as though he had gone crazy. These are the insights of breaking through to the spirit channeling realm. If this were to spread, it would probably cause chaos in China. With this, I have at least a 50% chance of success. A 50% chance was already a lot. Before this, the old man didn't even have a 10% chance of success. On Sky Island. Oh right, there's also some Earth Spirit Liquid. With that said, Lin Xian took out more than 10 drops of Earth Spirit Liquid and gave them to the old man and second Uncle Lin. What rich life essence! Second Master Lin exclaimed. Xianer, this is too precious. Second Uncle, the two of you are the closest to me. Why are you telling me this? Zhang accept it, the old man said. I have a good grandson. He is destined to be famous in the future. Seeing the two of them accept the items, Lin Xian smiled in relief. Oh right, grandfather. Why are we leaving China? This isn't just a crisis for the Sword Pool Manor. It's a crisis for the entire country. The old man said in a deep voice, You should have heard of the Nether Hall. According to reliable information, the Nether Hall will fully recover in the next 6 months to a year. At that time, they will very likely control the entire country. Nether Hall. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. Not only had he heard of it, but he knew even more. The Nether Hall was already very scary, but there was an even bigger force behind it, the Black Dragon sect. That was an existence that could cause the entire Tianan region to panic. Then where are we going? Lin Xian asked. We're not going. You go by yourself, the old man said in a deep voice. I won't. Lin Xian shook his head. If we're going together. Xianer, don't be impulsive. Second Uncle Lin said. According to the information we received, there is a terrifying force behind the Nether Hall. It's not something we can fight against. Yes, after you come out of the ancestral land. Leave China immediately, the old man said in a deep voice. You are our hope. Only if you live can you save us. Lin Xian was silent. He couldn't help much if he stayed, but he was unwilling to leave just like that. All right, let's go to the ancestral land first, the old man said quickly. Lin Xian knew that the situation was urgent. Without any hesitation, he followed the old man to the ancestral land. On the other side of the Sword Pool Manor, where the great elder lived, Lin Feng had already woken up. His life was saved, but one of his arms was broken. If he wanted to take it back, he would have to pay a price. Grandfather, I can't take this lying down. Lin Feng's eyes were red. He was a genius and had great luck to be able to obtain such a heaven-defying earth-rank martial art. However, he had still been defeated. He had been defeated by someone he had once regarded as an ant. Don't worry, Feng. Grandfather will avenge you. The great elder's eyes flashed. I have already contacted the elders of the Nether Hall. When they arrive, the Sword Pool Manor will be ours. There were 2 forbidden areas in the Sword Pool Manor. One was the place where the patriarch cultivated in seclusion, and the other was the ancestral land. These 2 places were protected by a terrifying array. Even a spirit transformation realm cultivator wouldn't dare to trespass. As the patriarch, the old man naturally had a way to enter. Lin Xian followed behind him carefully. He had only heard of the ancestral land, but had never entered it. This is the place where our ancestors are buried. There are countless treasures inside. What you can obtain will depend on your luck. Lin Xian nodded and walked through the ancient stone door. The old man sat cross-legged on the side and waited quietly. After Lin Xian walked in, he looked around curiously. He learned from the old man that this was actually a cemetery where the patriarchs of the past were buried. The space behind the stone door was larger than he had imagined. It seemed that this ancestral land was not an ordinary place. Chapter 307. As Lin Xian walked, he saw many tombstones. Each tombstone had something different in front of it. Some were glowing weapons, while others were yellowed martial arts. There were also some that had martial arts engraved on the wall beside them. The words were extremely messy. These should have been left behind before his death, Lord Alcohol said with a voice transmission. It's no wonder everyone wants to enter the ancestral land. This is really a land of treasure. Lin Xian exclaimed. Not to mention the weapons, just the martial arts insights and the like were enough to tempt countless people. However, although Lin Xian was tempted, he could still restrain himself. The main reason was that he had been taught by an expert like Lord Alcohol. His knowledge far exceeded that of ordinary people. Therefore, he didn't immediately study the martial arts insights. Instead, he wandered around. No one had ever been as calm as him. The disciples who entered in the past never ran around. They quickly studied the martial arts insights on the stone monuments. After all, they had limited time to stay here. This is Father's handwriting. Lin Xian looked at the words engraved on the wall and became excited. Evidently, Lin Xian's father had also entered the cave and left behind some inscriptions. It's not insights. It seems to have been casually written. Lin Xian looked carefully and realized that some of the words were already blurred. Great Dragon, the other 5 sword heritage. I can't stay in Spirit Void Island any longer. Head to the Baiqing continent. After Lin Xian read it, his heart palpitated. Although the words were incomplete, it was obvious that his father knew about the great dragon sword. He suddenly recalled the mysterious sword in his body. It was given to him by his father. From the looks of it, your father is stronger than you imagine. Such a figure cannot perish, Lord Alcohol said slowly. Let's see if there are any other clues. Lin Xian reached out his hand to touch the words, but when he touched the words on the wall, they suddenly suffused light. The words vanished as an illusory figure condensed. Father, Lin Xian exclaimed. Child, by the time you see this, I might have been gone for a long time. However, you must believe that we will meet again one day. Our Lin family has some connections with the Great Dragon Sword. In this ancestral land, there is a mark that records the location of the Great Dragon Sword. Find it and go to the white-green continent to find me. The illusory figure gradually disappeared, turning into a rain of light. Spiritual perception projection. What a powerful technique. Lord Alcohol said in a deep voice. It looks like there are clues to the Great Dragon Sword here. Lin Xian tried his best to calm himself down. Although he knew that it was just a soul imprint left behind by his father, he still couldn't bear to part with it. Upon hearing Lord Alcohol's words, he calmed down. Only by obtaining enough power would he be able to reunite with his family. Closing his eyes and calming his mind, he channeled the Great Dragon Sword will in his body, wanting to use this opportunity to sense the existence of the other Great Dragon mark. A moment later, a dragon's roar resounded from the depths of the ancestral grounds. It carried a sense of vicissitudes, as if it had traveled through countless years. Sure enough, it's here. Lin Xian was overjoyed. His body transformed into a streak of lightning as he rushed over. On the huge stone tablet in front of him, a ferocious roaring dragon was engraved, looking down on all living things. At this moment, the dragon-shaped image seemed to have come alive as it swam around the stone tablet. Roar! The dragon's roar resounded as the surrounding air trembled. A huge dragon claw formed above and slammed down. This attack was enough to kill a harmonious spirit realm warrior. Swoosh! Lin Xian didn't take it head-on. He used the dragon counter-step and quickly dodged. It was different from what he had imagined. He had thought that he could easily obtain the Great Dragon Mark, but now it seemed that he had been too naive. The Great Dragon Sword Mark is an ownerless item. Only those with strength are worthy of it, Lord Alcohol said. Whether or not you can subdue it will depend on you. Lin Xian's eyes were sharp. He had even defeated Lin Feng, who had grasped an earth-ranked martial art, let alone a soulless imprint. He pulled out the two halves of the Autumn Scar sword and quickly rushed over. Cloud severing. The sword light tore through the air like an ethereal cloud as it slashed towards the dragon-shaped image. Wong. The stone tablet glowed and also slashed out a sword chi. It was 70 to 80% similar to the cloud severing, but it was sharper and more ethereal. Lin Xian was slightly stunned. This method was very similar to when he participated in the Inscription Tower competition. However, back then, Yufei's bloodline mirror could only be replicated. Its power was the same as the original, but this stone tablet was clearly superior. Not only was its attack the same as Lin Xian's, but it was also more powerful. As expected of an offensive Saint art, it can even modify martial arts. Lin Xian was even more delighted. If he could obtain this Great Dragon Mark, his sword intent would be even more powerful. He began to use all kinds of methods to attack the stone tablet. For a moment, the surroundings were surrounded by sword light. It was a terrifying scene. Lin Xian kept attacking the stone tablet. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 days had passed, but he still hadn't succeeded. However, compared to the beginning, he had made substantial progress. Outside the ancestral land, Second Master Lin hurried to the Patriarch's side. Father, Xin, hasn't come out yet. The Patriarch shook his head, but he didn't look too worried. It's been more than 20 days. Will something happen? Second Master Lin asked worriedly. If something happens to the person inside, the stone door will turn blood red. This way, the people outside will know immediately. But now, these two stone doors haven't changed. This means that Xin is very safe. as expected of father and son. I remember that Jean also stayed for nearly a month last time. The patriarch said slowly, Father, the situation in the mansion hasn't been right recently. I feel that Lin Quan and the rest are planning something, Second Master Lin said. No matter what, we must delay until Xian comes out. In the Sword Pool Mansion, Lin walked into the room excitedly and whispered, Father, it's almost done. In about 5 days, the people from the Netherworld Hall will take action. Hee, this day has finally come. The great elder's eyes had a trace of madness. Lin Yuan, this Sword Pool Mansion will eventually be mine. Father, it's said that Lin Xian entered the ancestral land. It's been more than 20 days, and he hasn't come out yet. So what? Didn't Lin Zhan also enter for a month? Where is he now? The great elder sneered. With the people from the Netherworld Hall taking action, not to mention Lin Xian, even Lin Yuan won't be able to escape death. Father is still wise. Lin said. The people from the Netherworld Hall have replied. As long as they are allowed to enter the ancestral land, they will agree to repair Feng Er's severed arm. Father, what exactly is in the ancestral land? Could it be some heaven-defying treasure? But even if it's an earth-rank martial art, they didn't ask for it. I don't know. The ancestral land is the burial place of the patriarchs. At most, there will be some martial arts and weapons. Their value won't exceed that of an earth-rank martial art. We will listen to the Netherworld Hall, the great elder said solemnly. Understood, Father. Lin chuckled. 5 days passed in a flash. Lin Xian entered the final stage of subduing the dragon seal. On this day, a shocking change occurred in Xia country. The snow-seeking sect, Blue Moon sect, Sword Pool Mansion, and many other forces rebelled. At the same time, a group of mysterious black-robed men appeared in public for the first time. The words Netherworld were painted on their chests. Chapter 308. The Nether Hall, a dark force that had disappeared for hundreds of years, appeared once again. The worst part was that there were many people from the Nether Hall among the top forces like the snow-seeking sect. They kept killing those who resisted, causing the sects to fall into chaos. The whole Xia was in chaos. Battles were everywhere. In the snow-seeking sect, all the disciples were stunned when the sect master announced that they were going to join the Nether Hall. Some of the disciples raised their hands to surrender, but more of them fought back. The battle broke out. Yidao Long, Ice Fairy, and the others refused to surrender and were surrounded. Yidao, Ice Fairy, run. Don't come back. Elder Snow, what about you? Ice Fairy cried. Don't worry about me. Run. As long as you are here, the snow-seeking sect will not be destroyed. Elder Snow killed the enemies that rushed towards them and helped them escape. In the Sword Pool Mansion, a group of black-clothed people descended from the sky. The defensive formation did not work at all. Lord Nethery, thank you. The great elder went forward with a smile. Elder Lin Quan, let's begin. Lord Nethery smiled. No, I should call you Mansion Master Lin Quan now. Ha ha ha. A proud laugh sounded. The great elder slowly rose into the sky, his voice spreading everywhere. Disciples of the Sword Pool Mansion, listen up. From today onwards, we are members of the Nether Hall. We will follow Lord Nethery's lead. Those who disobey will be killed without mercy. The terrifying voice spread to every corner of the Sword Pool Mansion. At this moment, other than the disciples under the Great Elder, the rest of the people were stunned. They were the top forces in Xia. Since when did they submit to someone, especially a dark force like the Nether Hall? Lin Quan, what are you doing? Why would we submit to the Nether Hall? That's right. You are betraying the clan. You should be punished by the clan rules. The third elder shouted coldly. We will not submit. You are courting death. The great elder snorted. He raised his palm and pressed it down. The void trembled as the terrifying palm pressed down. The third elder resisted with all his might. However, the surrounding spiritual energy was like an invisible cage, binding him tightly. Before the huge palm could reach him, the third elder's spiritual armor was crushed by the violent spiritual energy. This was the strength of a spirit transformation realm warrior. A casual attack from a spirit transformation realm warrior could render a harmonious spirit realm warrior powerless. Just as the third elder was about to be crushed into a bloody mist, a fist the size of a mountain quickly formed between heaven and earth and smashed towards the terrifying palm. Boom! Above the sword pool mansion, the two forces collided, forming a terrifying energy wave that spread out in all directions. Lin Quan, this is not the place for you to behave atrociously. A dignified voice sounded. It's the patriarch. The patriarch is here. The disciples of the Lin clan below were excited. Lin Yuan, today is the day you die. Lin Quan trembled with anger. Lord Nethery, I hope that you can help. The black-robed man beside the great elder cackled. That's good too. Let me see what the palace master of the Sword Pool Palace is capable of. Set up the defensive formation. Second Master Lin shouted coldly. Beneath the Sword Pool Manor, tens of thousands of sword beams lit up like starlight, rushing in all directions. A mighty sword formation quickly formed. This sword formation is useless against me. The great elder sneered and quickly rushed over. That's not necessarily true. Second Master Lin waved his long sword and controlled the sword formation, forming 12 mountain-like sword beams that condensed into the shape of a green lotus and slashed towards the great elder. Green lotus sword formation. You actually set up this kind of sword formation? The great elder's expression changed drastically, and he didn't dare to take it head-on. Damn it, when did you set it up? Second Master Lin controlled the sword formation, forming terrifying sword beams that swept in all directions. Lin Quan, you are not worthy of being a disciple of the Lin clan. Don't even think about controlling the Sword Pool Mansion. You are courting death. The great elder snorted coldly, waving his palms continuously, forming a terrifying palm shadow that slammed downward. At the same time, fierce battles broke out in other places of the Sword Pool Mansion. In the ancestral land of the Lin clan, Lin Yuan stood up and looked at the sky with a solemn expression. There were dozens of black figures there, and the one in the lead was Lord Nethery. Old thing, I will give you a chance. Submit to the Netherworld Hall, or die. Cut the crap, I will not bow to you. Lin Yuan shouted coldly, raising his hand and slashing out a terrifying sword beam. Netherworld Heaven Trap. The black-robed man emitted countless black chi, covering the surroundings. Streaks of black chi with a strong murderous aura, together with the surrounding spiritual energy, rushed toward Lin Yuan. Boom! A great battle was about to break out. The battle between martial artists of the spirit transformation realm was extremely terrifying, and every move had the power to split mountains and break rivers. You guys, go and take a look inside the stone door. Lord Nethery ordered. Suddenly, 6 black-robed men rushed toward the stone door quickly. Puff, puff. The killing array here was activated, forming a dazzling sword beam that instantly pierced through 2 black-robed men. You Air, you two are responsible for breaking the array. You must enter the stone door. Lord Nethery said coldly. The remaining black-robed men also got busy. In the ancestral land, Lin Xian sat cross-legged facing the stone tablet. The dragon mark on the stone tablet emitted a gentle light, enveloping Lin Xian, forming an inexplicable connection between the two. As time passed, the dragon mark on the stone tablet became weaker, and Lin Xian's aura became stronger. In the end, the mark on the stone tablet disappeared, and the brilliance was like a mirror. Lin Xian also suddenly opened his eyes. A dragon-shaped shadow flashed across Lin Xian's eyes, looking extremely deep. A dragon roar filled with pressure rang out from within his body. On the mysterious sword, the dragon pattern became clear again, and half of the dragon's body had been formed. Although Lin Xian's sword intent did not improve, his strength had increased by a lot. What a strong power! Lin Xian clenched his fists. He felt that his strength had improved in all aspects. Now, he would definitely not be so embarrassed if he fought against Lin Feng. He was even confident that he could kill Lin Feng before using the Earth-level martial arts. It's time to go out. Lin Xian tidied up and headed outside. His figure swayed, and he quickly ran toward the stone door. Outside, Lin Yuan and Lord Nethery were fighting fiercely, and the rest of the black-robed men were trying their best to break the array. Suddenly, the stone door trembled as if it was about to open. Is it Xianer? Lin Yuan was anxious and wanted to break through Lord Nethery's defense. The black-robed Lord Nethery thought that his men had broken the array, and he was overjoyed, and his moves became even more fierce. At this critical moment, he naturally did not allow Lin Yuan to destroy the array. The stone door slowly opened, and the 4 black-robed men were full of expectations. They were just waiting for the stone door to open completely before rushing in. Ka, ka. Finally, the stone door opened completely. However, the 4 black-robed men were stunned, because they saw a figure coming out of it. Naturally, it was Lin Xian who came out of it. Because of the special existence of the ancestral land, he did not know what was happening outside. But the moment he opened the stone door, he sensed that there was a battle within a kilometer of the Sword Pool mansion. What's going on? Could it be that Lin Quan is rebelling? Lin Xian was puzzled. However, when he sensed the existence of countless black-robed men, his whole heart was raised. Chapter 309. As soon as Lin Xian walked out of the stone door, he saw the black-robed men in front of him. At the same time, he sensed a very strong chi fighting with the old man. The black-robed men were stunned when they saw Lin Xian. Brat, who are you? When did you enter? Xianer, run. Without waiting for Lin Xian's reply, the old man Lin Yuan's urgent voice came from the sky. Lin Xian instantly understood what was going on. He was very familiar with these black-robed men. Netherhall, they actually attacked Swordpool Prefecture. He was not an indecisive person. He knew that he was useless here. Moreover, the old man had already told him to run away before entering the ancestral land. With a sway of his body, Lin Xian wanted to leave. Stop him. Anyone who has entered the ancestral land must not be let go. Lord Yu waved his hand and shouted loudly. Asterisk swoosh 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 asterisk 4 black-robed men quickly rushed toward Lin Xian, blocking the path around him. 2 of them were early harmonious spirit realm experts, while the other 2 were half-step harmonious spirit realm experts. This formation was more than enough to capture a harmonious spirit realm expert, not to mention a half-step harmonious spirit realm brat. The 4 of them laughed sinisterly as they pounced toward Lin Xian. The surrounding black fog surged and formed black chains in the air, entangling him like spirit snakes. Get lost. Lin Xian's black hair danced wildly as he shouted angrily. The sound waves were like water ripples that carried a strong soul force. It was especially used to attack people's souls, making it impossible to guard against. Since the integration of the second dragon mark, Lin Xian's soul force had increased by a large margin. He was now very close to the level of a third-grade inscription master. The ripple-like sound was like a sharp sword, easily cutting through the surrounding black chains, and then quickly rushing towards the 4 black-clothed men. Asterisk puff puff, asterisk the 2 half-step harmonious spirit realm black-robed men were severely injured. They vomited blood and their bodies were on the verge of collapse. The 2 harmonious spirit realm experts beside them were also at a disadvantage. Their faces were pale and their pupils blurred. Soul force? Their faces slightly changed. Pay attention to your soul defense. Yu-E and Yu-Air blocked his path, approaching step by step, overflowing netherworld. Their black robes fluttered, and the surrounding spiritual energy trembled, forming a black ocean. 100-meter-tall waves surged and rushed towards Lin Xian. Wind and Thunder Sword Wave. Lin Xian took out his Crimson Flame Greatsword and slashed out, creating a terrifying sword wave within 100 meters. Puff, puff. The 2 severely injured half-step, harmonious spirit black-robed men didn't even have time to scream. Their bodies were cut into 2 halves, forming 2 clouds of blood mist and exploded in the air. The black waves were split apart and turned back into black mist. The sharp sword waves rushed towards Hades E and Hades Air. What a terrifying sword intent. Their expressions changed again. Black fog rolled around their bodies, forming pitch-black battle armor. It carried a sinister, baleful aura as it wrapped around the 2 of them. Clang, clang. The dense sword waves collided with the surface, emitting the sound of metal colliding. Lin Xian's sword intent had already surpassed an ordinary 50% sword intent. Coupled with the terrifying attack power of the great dragon Mark, this sword wave became extremely strange. Chi. Chi. The black battle armor was cut open, and the silver lightning quickly seeped into it, destroying it continuously. There's still lightning? Yu-E and Yu-Er looked as if they had seen a ghost. Their expressions were filled with unease. Damn it, who is this brat? Why does he have so many terrifying things? Why do I feel like he's born to suppress us? The two of them were frightened. Their bodies turned into black mist and quickly retreated. Indeed, Lin Xian's attack power was stronger than an ordinary early harmonious spirit realm expert. The terrifying great dragon sword in tint allowed him to break their defense, and the silver lightning was their nemesis. Yu-E and Yu-Er didn't dare to face it directly, but they could still surround him if they wanted to. As long as Lin Xian couldn't run away, their mission would be considered a success. In the sky, Lord Yu, who was fighting fiercely, naturally sensed the situation below. He was also surprised by Lin Xian's strength. Did he get the item? Lord Yu was puzzled. Thinking of this, he waved his sleeve downward. Swoosh! This wave of his sleeve caused the weather below to change. Countless black mist surged, forming a pitch-black demonic palace. It pressed down on Lin Xian like a mountain. The terrifying aura it contained was enough to make an early harmonious spirit realm expert despair. When Lin Xian saw the demonic palace, his scalp went numb. He quickly used the dragon rebel step. At the same time, the cloak behind him fluttered, pushing his speed to the limit. A black light flashed and quickly rushed to the side. Buzz! The void trembled. The pitch-black demonic palace seemed to have locked onto Lin Xian. It spun above him, emitting a terrifying aura. At the same time, Yu-E and Yu-Er assisted from the side, using all their means to trap Lin Xian. Boom! Lin Xian took 2 palm strikes from the two, but he was forced to retreat. His opponent was very sinister. He only focused on defending and stalling for time. What should I do? Lin Xian was anxious. Use the formation. Lord Alcohol transmitted his voice. Do as I say. Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyes lit up. The formation here was extremely terrifying. Even spirit transformation realm experts wouldn't dare to barge in. If Lord Alcohol could activate it, it would definitely be a great help. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, a dazzling light appeared in the surroundings. Streaks of sword chi pierced through heaven and earth. This astonishing aura made Lin Yuan and Lord Yu in the sky change their expressions. Why is the formation activated? Lin Yuan was puzzled. He was afraid of hurting Lin Xian, so he only activated a small part of the formation. But now, the formation below was completely activated. Lin Yuan focused his gaze and saw Lin Xian's dexterous movements below. It was as if he had mastered the formation. Only then did he feel relieved. Lord Yu's eyelids twitched wildly. He still underestimated the strength of Swordpool Mansion. This kind of formation was enough to threaten him. Just as the two of them were shocked, the situation below changed drastically. With the help of Lord Alcohol, Lin Xian temporarily mastered the terrifying formation. Streaks of sword chi swept through the surroundings. The aura was enough to kill any harmonious spirit realm expert. The sword chi surged and rushed toward Yu-E and Yu-Er. The two of them tried to escape, but they triggered even more sword chi. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were penetrated by 8 streaks of sword chi. They couldn't be more dead. Under the attack of the sword formation, the pitch-black demonic palace in the sky quickly disintegrated and turned into a cloud of black mist. Shinner, I will delay the black-robed man. You leave quickly. Lin Yuan transmitted his voice. Lin Xian took a deep breath. His expression became very tragic. His eyes were filled with pain. He retreated with tears in his eyes. Want to run? Lord Yu's face darkened. He quickly made a move. The black mist formed dozens of huge black pythons, constantly twisting in the air. Your opponent is me. Dazzling sword light flashed, and the black pythons were cut into pieces. Lin Yuan held the giant sword and cooperated with the sword formation below to stop Lord Yu. Everyone, pay attention. Capture this kid with all your strength. Lord Yu looked up to the sky and roared. The black mist around his body surged and formed Lin Xian's head in the sky. This head was 100 meters tall and clearly visible within a radius of 10,000 meters. At this moment, countless people rushed toward Lin Xian. Chapter 310. Lin Xian's head was condensed, and he became everyone's target. The disciples of the Nether Hall and Lin Quan's faction were all chasing after Lin Xian, wanting to capture him. However, Lin Xian's speed was too fast. With the Dragon Rebel Step and the Black Cloak, his speed was faster than an ordinary early-stage harmonious spirit realm warrior. Swoosh! Sword chi swept out horizontally, cutting off the path in front of him. Lin Xian stood in front of him with a ferocious expression. "Little bastard, let's see where you can run to." Moonbreak. Lin Xian didn't say much. He swung the crimson flame greatsword in his hand, and a crescent-shaped sword chi rushed out. The air seemed to be split in half. The crescent-shaped sword chi carried a terrifying dragon sword intent as it rushed forward. "Insignificant skill. Die for me," Lin Xian shouted coldly as he swung his long sword. The surrounding air seemed to be boiling, constantly tumbling. The sword chi soared into the sky and collided with the crescent-shaped sword chi, causing a shocking explosion. Crack! The crescent-shaped sword chi was split in half. Lin Xian's sword chi slashed forward in an even more arrogant manner. However, there was no one in front of him. As soon as the crescent-shaped sword chi slashed out, Lin Xian used the black cloak to conceal his aura and quickly fled in another direction. Little bastard, come back." Lin Xian was so angry that he stomped his feet. He was going crazy in his heart. "Wanna run? Go back." At this moment, a terrifying voice rang out, and an old figure quickly approached. Feeling this terrifying aura, Lin Xian frowned. That figure was naturally Lin Quan. Without the deterrence of old master Lin Yuan, he was now like a ferocious beast, rampaging in all directions. "You can't fight a spirit transformation realm expert head-on. Quickly retreat," Lord Alcohol quickly said. "Stay, I won't kill you." Lin Quan's voice was cold. "I will let you taste all the torture in the world and let you struggle on the verge of death every day. You old pervert, this young master won't play with you." Lin Xian shouted coldly. It's useless to say anything." Lin Quan remained unmoved. He stretched out his palm and mercilessly pressed down. The terrifying palm blotted out the sky and covered the earth like 100,000 mountains, converging on Lin Xian. Whoosh! A blood-red light flashed, and Lin Xian disappeared. "What?" Lin Quan was shocked. His eyes were like sword chi as he looked around. However, there was no sign of Lin Xian's aura within 1,000 meters. Whoosh! A few thousand meters away, Lin Xian's figure appeared. His face was somewhat pale. Without any hesitation, he quickly ran into the distance. At the critical moment just now, he decisively used the blood sacrifice cloak to escape. Lin Quan's face was terrifyingly gloomy. An ant-like brat had dared to play with him and escape from his grasp. As a spirit transformation realm cultivator, he could not tolerate this. Moreover, the person who ran away was the one he hated the most. The spiritual energy on his body burned like a divine flame. Lin Quan was like a huge fireball as he quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Wong! Boom! A green lotus, composed of 12 sword chi, intercepted Lin Quan with an aura that could destroy everything. "Old thing, I won't let you chase after Xian." Lin Quan's face was resolute. Seeing that Lin Xian was about to disappear into the horizon, Lord Yu in the distance suddenly let out a terrifying roar. Half of the sky was shrouded in black fog, forming a terrifying demonic cloud. Boom! Lin Yuan was blasted away and flew out upside down. Lord Yu quickly came to Lin Quan's side with a solemn expression. "You go after that brat, leave this to me." "Okay." Lin Quan nodded. His body bloomed with light as he was about to leave. At this time, a sword chi shone in all directions like the sun. Old Master Lin Yuan floated in the air, his body exuding a blue light. Although it was dazzling, it carried a chill that reached the soul. "Ice sword." Lin Quan lost his voice. He seemed to have thought of something terrible. He is not Lin Yuan. He is just a doppelganger. Doppelganger? Lord Yu was also stunned. "He hasn't come out yet, but he used the Sword Lake Mansion's most precious treasure, the ice sword, as a medium to condense an avatar. I was wondering why this old thing didn't use the ice sword. It turned out to be a substitute. Just as Lin Kuan was explaining, Lin Kuan suddenly gave up stopping him and led his people to gather at the place where Lin Yuan was in seclusion. Sword Lake Mansion will not surrender, let alone fall. If it can't exist forever, then it will become eternal. Lin Yuan's voice spread all over the place. Not good, Run. Lin Kuan's face turned green with fright, and he turned into an afterimage to escape. Rumble. The blue light in the sky exploded, forming a terrifying ice chi. The entire Sword Lake Mansion was wrapped in blue sword chi and quickly froze. Crack, crack, crack. Everything in the sky and on the ground was frozen into ice sculptures at this moment. Lin Yuan, Lin Kuan, and the others looked into the distance with hope in their eyes and gradually turned into ice sculptures. Lin Kuan still maintained his fleeing posture, but his body was frozen in mid-air, and there was a frightened expression on his face. Next to him, Lord Yu also became a statue. At this moment, the entire Sword Lake Mansion turned into an ice palace, flashing with a cold light under the sun. In the distance, Lin Xian looked at the building that had turned into ice, and he felt uncomfortable. Don't look at it, it's just ice. When you are strong enough, you can completely remove the ice. Lord Alcohol advised, the most important thing now is to escape. Otherwise, who will save Sword Lake Mansion in the future? Lin Xian's eyes regained light. Yes, only when I am strong can I save Sword Lake Mansion. Grandpa, second uncle, wait for me to come back. Lin Xian turned into a black lightning bolt and quickly ran into the distance. His crisis had not been resolved. Lord Yu had formed his head in the sky earlier, and everyone within a radius of tens of thousands of meters saw it. Countless black-robed men chased after him, and a terrifying aura attacked him. Wind, Slayer, Thunder, Clap, Lightning, Storm. Lin Xian kept striking out silver thunderbolts, forcing the black-robed men around him to retreat. Fortunately, he had enough spirit wine, which allowed him to maintain his spirit energy. The pursuit continued. During this period, a few mid-harmonious spirit realm experts arrived, and Lin Xian escaped by a hair's breadth. 10 days later, he arrived at the Qing province. Disciples wearing the Tsang family's uniform followed the black-robed men to patrol the area, looking extremely arrogant. It was obvious that the Tsang family had sided with the Nether Hall. This is Lin Xian's portrait. You must take a good look. We can't let him escape. The Tsang family disciples sneered. Lin Xian was their sworn enemy, and they would be happy if they could kill him. The entire Qing province was under a terrifying investigation. On the 5th day, Lin Xian was discovered. The Tsang family's great elder led a group of people to surround him. Among them were the Tsang family's disciples and the Nether Hall's people. Haha, Lin Xian, it's time for us to settle our debt with you. The Tsang family's great elder sneered. Lin Xian had killed many Tsang family's disciples and even humiliated him. Today, he could capture Lin Xian with his own hands. This was the happiest thing in his life for the Tsang family's great elder. It seems like it will be difficult to let you go. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Lin Xian pulled out his red flame greatsword. Chapter 311. Lin Xian unleashed a terrifying sword intent, and streaks of sword chi slashed in all directions. Everyone retreated in fear. That sword intent made their hearts tremble. Humph! Don't think that we're unprepared. The Tsang clan's grand elder sneered. He flipped his palm, and a pitch-black chain appeared in his hand, rattling loudly. At the same time, a black-robed middle-aged man stepped forward and stood beside the Tsang clan's grand elder. In his hand, he held a black flag with a terrifying ghost head painted on it. The two of them stepped forward with a sinister smile. The other disciples moved quickly and formed a formation. Lin Xian's body swayed, and his long sword swayed, drawing a strange trajectory in the air. Gale Lightning Sword, Mountain Break Sword. He immediately used his strongest sword technique. The clouds in the sky tumbled, and a gigantic, heavenly sword was formed. A terrifying aura crushed everything in its path. Rumble. The gigantic heavenly sword slashed down, and rows of clouds were sent flying. Strong winds blew in all directions. With one slash, the mountains and rivers were shattered. The Tsang clan's grand elder's face was filled with fear. His body trembled, and he wanted to escape. No, this is impossible. He couldn't believe that Lin Xian, who was just an ant half a year ago, could unleash such a powerful attack. The gigantic heavenly sword fell mercilessly, and everything in front of it was drowned. The ground cracked, mountains collapsed, rivers surged, and the power of wind and thunder roared. When everything calmed down, the people who were chasing after him were all turned into minced meat. The Tsang clan's grand elder's head was buried in the ground, and his eyes were filled with fear and regret. Lin Xian put away his long sword, turned around, and left. The appearance of the Nether Hall was like a disaster, and a bloody wind blew in the land of the Xia. Some factions sent people to the neighboring countries to ask for help. In the end, they found that it wasn't just the Xia. Even the neighboring countries were in chaos. In the Shadow Country, the Purple Demon Palace was the first to start the war. They called themselves the Purple Demon Hall and cooperated with the Nether Hall to occupy the Shadow Country. Not long after, everyone received even more despairing news. The Purple Demon Hall and the Nether Hall were both halls of a certain faction, and this terrifying faction was called the Black Dragon Sect. A month later, a figure quickly landed in the Xia. He had a terrifying aura, and it covered the entire sky. At this moment, the experts of the various factions felt a shocking aura. Spirit Detecting Realm. A Spirit Detecting Realm expert has actually arrived. The Spirit Detecting Realm was a realm above the Spirit Transformation Realm. Their methods were heaven-defying. There wasn't a single spirit detecting expert in the entire Xia country. Now that one had appeared, how could they resist? A few days later, a 2-star family in the Fire Province vowed to fight to the death. In the end, that spirit-detecting realm martial artist arrived and destroyed that family with a single palm strike. A crater that was a few thousand meters deep appeared on the ground. The entire clan had been razed to the ground, and not a single person had escaped. This news seemed to have grown wings as it quickly spread throughout the entire Xia country. The various forces sighed and felt a strong sense of powerlessness. That 2-star aristocratic family had 6 harmonious spirit realm warriors, and one of them was very close to the spirit transformation realm, reaching the peak of harmonious spirit realm. However, even so, they were unable to escape. All of them died under that terrifying palm. The various forces surrendered one after another and were quickly taken over by the Netherworld Hall. One person was enough to intimidate the entire country. This was the power of a spirit-detecting expert. Longzhou, Swordpool Mansion. The current Swordpool Mansion had turned into a huge ice palace, emitting a terrifying cold air. A few black-robed men stood nearby. One of them had a strong aura, causing the surrounding air to distort. Is the ghost general sealed inside? The black-robed man with the terrifying aura asked. Sir Yen, the ghost general is indeed sealed inside. A black-robed man beside him quickly replied. His aura wasn't any weaker than the ghost general who had attacked the Swordpool Mansion. A spirit transformation expert was actually speaking in such a humble manner. Anyone who saw this would be shocked to the point that their jaws would drop. Needless to say, that Sir Yin in the middle was the spirit-detecting expert who had made the entire Xia country submit. Only such an expert could make a spirit-transforming realm martial artist be willing to be his subordinate. What a pure frost energy! I didn't expect such a method to appear in such a remote area. Sir Yan's tone was slightly moved. Sir, you can't open it? The Nether General beside him was shocked. I can't open it. Sir Yin shook his head. I can't even forcefully destroy it. I'm afraid only the Hall Master can do it. Hall Master. The Nether General sucked in a breath. He didn't expect a small Swordpool Mansion to be so difficult to deal with. Then what about the item that the Hall Master gave us? The Nether General asked. Sir Yan's gaze gradually turned cold. I heard that someone came out of the Lin clan's ancestral grounds and successfully escaped from the Ghost General. This person might have gotten what we want, so we must find him. As he said this, Sir Yan's aura suddenly became sharp. The demonic clouds behind him churned, transforming into countless ferocious evil spirits. Everyone's heart trembled, and they hurriedly agreed, afraid that they would anger this temperamental serene. In the following days, the search for Lin Xian became even more intense. Not only Xia country, but all the neighboring countries were also anxiously searching, forming a terrifying net. And such a tight search was also effective. 10 days later, within the borders of Rain country, someone discovered Lin Xian's tracks. Immediately, people from the Purple Demon Hall and Nether Hall quickly moved out to capture Lin Xian. If they could capture Lin Xian, it would definitely be a great merit. At that time, if Sir Yin could reward them with 1 or 2 treasured weapons or martial arts, they would be rich. Rain country, in the primeval forest, a golden figure was moving quickly, like a small mountain. On top of the golden figure, there was a blurry figure sitting. This figure was Lin Xian, and the figure sitting on top of him was Xiao Jin. According to Lin Xian's plan, since he was going to escape anyway, he might as well go to the Pill King Valley. Moreover, he still had a half-year agreement with the old man de Quebec. Thus, he followed the path he came from, but he didn't expect that he would still be discovered. Behind him, there were 2 groups of people quickly chasing after him. Among them were people from the Purple Demon Hall. Their purple demon eyes played a role, and they could always find Lin Xian's tracks. Fortunately, the people chasing after him were at the harmonious spirit realm. Lin Xian was still able to deal with them. However, as time passed, more groups of people appeared around him, forming a circle and gathering around him. In the direction that Lin Xian was heading towards, there was also a group of people. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He planned to take the initiative and seize the opportunity. Putting away Xiao Jin, Lin Xian shook the cloak on his body and turned into a ray of black light, rushing out. In front of him, a young man with a devilish appearance sneered. In his eyes, there was a blood-red color. Bloodline power, purple demon bloodline. 2 blood pillars spurted out from his eyes like divine spears, extremely fierce. This young man was Ziyi. After coming out from the levitating island, he finally advanced to the harmonious spirit realm with the advantage of his bloodline. This time, when he heard that they were going to capture Lin Xian, he was the first to sign up and was very enthusiastic. Lin Xian, I will personally torture you to death. Only then can I relieve the hatred in my heart. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.